Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, this is another episode of UFO Garage.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Joe. And this is where we talk about UFOs, aliens,
And
all things weird. What's up, dude?
Dude, chilling, man.
Good. That's good. It's always good to be chilling.
That is good.
It's Thirsty Thursday.
Thirsty Thursdays.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking wine.
Wine.
Wine out of a box.
I got a little native text in here.
Fucking Boda box.
Lynn,
Breeze,
are you drinking
dude.
water, Lynn?
Oh no, it's wine.
Yeah.
Come on
there
now, you know me.
There you go.
We're in the Paranormal Wine Club. I don't know if that's a thing, but
Spirits, right?
It is now.
That's awesome, dude. Oh, hey, we're gonna have a fun show today.
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, again, Lynn, thank you so much for just like being available. I know we had tried to schedule something on Friday, something that came up with me, and then it was kind of like back and forth. So thanks for just, being down to hang out with us tonight and spending some time with us.
Anytime.
Yeah, I've been checking out your show, Paranormal Spirits. Holy crap. I think I was just telling you before we started, but I've watched like every episode. Guys, if y'all haven't checked out this show, look it up on YouTube, Paranormal Spirits. I mean, if you have fun with me and Joe, you're going to have fun with this show. Like you guys just hang out, talk about really like paranormal, but like ghosts, and also you could probably explain it better. It's your show. It's just fun.
You're doing great.
Yeah, and you guys have a nice tasty drink. So like, when did y'all start that? Has this always been like a conversation, like a topic of conversation? Like, how did that start?
No, I was bored during quarantine. So I was just like, I need to do something. So I did a couple of episodes and Caitlin was just like, this is amazing. I love it. And I was like, great, you can come on it with me. Cause we used to do a podcast way back when together. So she was like, absolutely. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
That is so awesome.
It started from boredom.
Yeah. During quarantine, they made me work. Yeah, I wasn't bored at all.
Who's they?
Work, the system.
Work, dude.
The system. The people that sit in those dark rooms smoking cigars. They're like, we gotta keep the economy going.
Yeah.
We're gonna make that guy Joe go to work every single day.
What you don't know is that there's thousands of people that really they're waiting. They come up with things for you to do
Specifically me.
every day. What are we gonna do?
Somebody go put that nail out in his driveway so he'll have a flat tire. Yeah.
I heard that Joe was gonna have a relaxing evening this evening.
I don't think so.
What an idiot. Do I have a plan for him?
Dude, have you heard that insurance commercial where they're talking about, they're like, they get a phone call and they're like, hello? And then they're like, hi, we have the mice scheduled to eat the wiring in your RV today at 5:00 and it'll be catching on fire. Does that work for you? And they're like, no, can we reschedule that? And the whole insurance thing is like, you can't predict when accidents are going to happen.
That's
But
pretty
it's always
good.
set up like where they purposely go out and screw with you.
That's good.
It's a pretty good insurance commercial.
I like that.
Yeah.
So like, how do y'all pick your topics for the show? I'm always curious. Like, where's your ear to the ground with that topic?
It's a lot of in-depth research. Usually it goes this way. Okay, we're going to film on such and such a day. Such and such a day comes. And one of us is like, oh, let's find some stories. And that's what it is.
Yes.
That's
It's
exactly
like literally 20 minutes before.
Yeah. It's like, oh crap, it's my day to do stories. Ah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So sometimes like we'll send a text like back and forth and we each won't read it till the next day. So it's exponential. So like by Thursday, we're like, hey, did you see that thing? Yeah, I don't know, man. Just pick one.
Oh, that's so funny. So we don't tell each other ahead of time what we're doing. So one person, we usually do like 3 episodes at a time. We film them.
Oh, nice.
And so like, say if I'm the one presenting the stories, Caitlin has no idea what I'm going to be doing until we're filming. So
okay, I love that. That's really cool. I love that. We may have to riff on that and credit you. And we
so
will
you get the genuine reactions.
Yeah, exactly, dude. So Lynn, for I know a lot of people know who you are, but for people who don't know who you are and like what you do, Lynn, who are you?
I'm an enigma. So I do the silly little channel on YouTube, Paranormal Spirits, but I also on Saturday nights I do Spaced Out Radio. I do the Spaced Out Radio Saturday show. But before that, I worked within the UFO community. I worked for an organization called FREE, which is the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. It's very long. So I basically helped develop and run the experiencer support program. So I got to talk with hundreds of experiencers, and that's kind of how I got involved with the community. That was really my kind of start in it. After I had some weird experiences, I was talking to, I called them up, and they didn't have an experiencer support program at the time. So I actually ended up talking to one of the founders of the organization, and he found out my background was in psychology. And so he was just like, hey, I've got an idea. Would you like to help develop this program? And I was like, sure. I didn't know anything about UFOs at that point in time. I was kind of like, I just had this weird thing happen. But, so yeah, it was definitely a very quick learning lesson. So I had to like dive right into it, go down the rabbit hole. And because I had to learn everything really, because, I was talking to so many people and there's so many different types of experiences. So yeah. I learned everything.
Oh man. When it comes to like this whole topic, there's so much talk about just like the actual like UFO and craft and like videos and stuff. But for us, our favorite part is the experiencer themselves, those stories, and like just going through, like we could spend hours just listening, and we have spent hours just listening to people tell their stories. I mean, it's just, that's the most fascinating part, like to this whole thing, honestly.
It really is. And when I first started, I was kind of like, so, coming from the background in psych, like I used to be a therapist. And so I go in very open-minded, non-judgmental, like I don't know anything about this. So I'm just going to listen to what these people have to say. And some of it, when you're first coming into all of this, you're kind of like, okay, that's a little far-fetched, but they seem like they truly believe this. So I'm just going to go with it. Yeah. And then and there were strange things that weren't like super common on the internet that you could find. Some of them were just like very obscure experiences that they had. And then I ended up over the course of my time working with them, talking to about 300 experiencers, and found that there were people who had experiences in common, those same kind of obscure experiences in common. So that at that point, you're kind of like, okay, maybe there's something to this. It's crazy.
Oh man. Yeah. There's a lot of, dude, it's crazy how like there's so many differences in people's stories, but like there's like these underlying commonalities that take place. It's really fascinating to be able to see all that stuff. So as a psych person, like as a psychologist, right? Your background being psychology, are you judging Ben and I right now?
So smart.
Oh, constantly. No.
We always think that. Like sometimes we'll have people on. They're like, "Yeah, we read we can read you and stuff." And we're like, "Oh, you're just judging us right now so hard."
Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all. Like my favorite experiencers to talk to were like the really kind of like what would be considered, and I say this with love and respect, the wacky ones. Right. The ones that are like, oh, I went to the Galactic Federation and I worked with dragon beings and this giant worm, and I'm just kind of like, tell me more. Yes. Like I just eat it up. I love it.
I know. So for you, how was it like? What are some things that like you look for in people's stories? I mean, it's right off the bat, it's tough.
Sorry. One of the cats had the nerve to come into the room.
How dare you?
Is that the Chug going crazy right now?
Yeah.
Not in my dojo.
And the old Westie was following. What are we doing?
Yeah, I can hear like a second pair of paw prints running after me.
Yeah.
Oh man. So what are like some things that you would look for? I mean, this field isn't always full of the most honest people all the time. How what's some like cues that you would get and that would lead you to believe that like I don't think this guy's really telling the truth?
Like red flags, maybe?
Yeah, like
Well, for me, I kind of went with the approach that it doesn't matter whether or not I think it's true. If it's true to them, then it's true to me.
Right.
What I was doing when I sort of screened people was using my psych background to make sure there was no mental illness at play, that maybe there was some psychosis or some sort of delusions going on.
Yeah.
Because the way the program worked was we hooked them up with a mentor, and these mentors don't have psych training. So we just wanted to make sure I wasn't like passing along someone that they'd be like, no idea what to do with this. Like, like this makes no sense to me. So that was kind of my role in it. So it was great in the fact that I got to talk to just about everybody. But yeah, I was just really kind of like looking for, is there something else going on? And surprisingly, I think there was maybe only 1 or 2 people that we had that issue with. The rest of them were absolutely great. They were totally normal people every day. As you've talked to experiencers, and yeah, it's great.
The analogy I like to bring up too is as I, in my corporate job a few years back, we screened some people for like a graphic designer job. And that's like a normal person job, I guess. Yeah, a little on the creative side, but you still kind of have to talk to these people before just, offering them a job and saying, I trust you fully with being a part of my company and representing my company. Not that, a podcast and a company are the same, because it's like, we're all in it to get to know people and hear their stories. Like, I align with that so much. Like, it doesn't matter if I think it's true.
Yeah.
If you believe, I love the way you said that. Like, if you believe it's true, like, hey, we're here to listen.
Feelings mutual for sure.
Yeah. Like at this corporate job I used to work at, it's like, you're going to get some different personalities wherever you go. It's not just in the UFO field. I don't know. It's a topic that I don't know. It seems like it's a little sensitive at times, but yeah, that's interesting that the screening thing, me and Joe really don't like. We've never really done. Yeah. We just like, hey, let's go.
I know, at my job, when we screen people, it's usually like, do you speak English? And it's like, his English is too good. He's not going to work out. He's just not going to work out. He doesn't know what he's doing. His English is way too good.
I don't know, guys. He spelled welding absolutely correct.
He spelled it correctly. Did you see how clean his shirt was? I don't think so.
I don't like him.
Did that guy just walk in with white Nikes?
It's questionable.
Yeah. Oh, it's great, man. Awesome. I love it. So,
Alien Girl, what's up? Sorry, I had to give a shout out to Alien Girl.
Yeah, what's up, girl? Little shout outs.
This live stuff is fun. I'm like, my ADD is going like crazy. But so with the show that you guys have been doing, like, what you sent me this cryptid, and forgive me if I don't remember the name, but it was something like the Chuggies or something.
The Hodag? Was that the one?
Hodag.
Yeah. Oh, yes. No, the Pukwudgie. That's what it was. The Pukwudgie. That's what we're talking about. Yes.
That's it. The Hodag you did an episode about. That was awesome.
Yeah, I should do a Pukwudgie episode. I haven't done that yet.
Yes. You were sending me the description of it. Like, I was cracking up.
Yeah, so, like, it's awesome.
Like, we're like, how do you hear about these like different cryptids, and like, what's your favorite at the moment?
You know what? Cryptids are the ones that I know the least about. So Pukwudgies I've heard of because they're supposedly native to my area in Massachusetts. Can we not?
That's your favorite cryptid.
Hello? Yeah, right there. The little Pukwudgie, don't mind her. Yeah, so they're native to this area. So I've heard about them once I moved here because I'm not from here. And I was just kind of like, what? Tell me more. The name alone got me intrigued. But some of them, to be honest, my knowledge of cryptids would come from me doing a Google search of weird cryptids for a show. And that's how I found the Hodag. I'd never heard of the Hodag before. And I was like, this is amazing. I love this creature.
We'll pick the one with the funniest name.
Yeah, exactly. What's the weirdest thing I can find? That's
seriously.
The one.
Oh, dude. We don't. Well, I guess we do. Like we've got cryptids in our area. I mean, we've got the dog man. We've got the chupacabra. We got Bigfoot.
Do we have the swamp? swamp skunk or something like swamp ape.
The skunk ape.
Yeah, skunk ape.
Skunk ape.
Oh,
It's more East
Eastern,
Texas.
like Louisiana,
Yeah.
close to the border.
Yeah.
That's like the Bigfoot of the swamp, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, down in Louisiana, just about a mile past Texarkana.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's not. We should. That sounds familiar. Dude.
It is. It's a
Backstreet Boys?
No, Creedence Clearwater Revival
Oh, I
song.
thought that was Backstreet Boys.
Down in Louisiana, just about a mile past Texarkana. Oh.
It's gonna be me. That's
No, that's the wrong song again, dude. God, I can't do anything.
Much too cool for the Backstreet Boys.
yeah.
Oh man! Oh, we were at South by Southwest and we met Joey Fatone downtown. My homeboy Josh was like, "That's Joey Fatone," and I was like, "Who's Joey Fatone?"
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
my
he
god.
was like a Backstreet Boy. We're outside of this billiard, and he
like Joey,
like Joey, dude. Yeah. It was funny. He like ran up to him. He was like, Joey, can I get a picture? Joey. He had his little Kodak camera, the little
Oh my
rewindable ones. It was great. I bet he's still got a
awesome.
picture. He's got it
I
somewhere.
would totally be excited about meeting Joey Fatone for all of the crap I say about the Backstreet Boys. He's hilarious. I love him.
There's
But I'm
so many-
psychotic sometimes when I meet people. Like, I'm always surprised that people even want to talk to me. But then again, they don't see me kind of out in the wild in my natural environment. Like
Yes.
last year when they were filming QB Halloween. So I live right outside of Salem and they filmed a lot of it in Salem. And like the day after they were here, I found out Shaq was here and I was just like, what? So I was like, okay, I'm going back to Salem. And I'm just like, Shaq, like running around the place. I was like, where are you? Putting something up on Instagram like a psychotic, crazy person. Like, hey, Shaq, where are you? I'm in the area. Like, he's going to be like, oh, Lynn's in the area.
Oh,
Let me go find her.
Yeah, right? Seriously.
But I would totally be
Hold
that
on,
person.
hold
I'd be
on,
like, yo, Shaq, what's up? You know, if I saw him, like, he'd just be like, okay, little crazy person.
you made me.
Lynn,
Hey, baby.
you have back pain.
Hold on.
Try Bengay. You got back pain.
Hold on. That's Lynn with that.
Hold on 1 second. Lynn.
I wonder if that tactic would work. Like, if you just act like you already know him, like, dude, long time no see. I'm here at this place. It's right behind the Chuck E. Cheese. I'll see you. Like, I'm here for another 20 minutes. Like, give him like a deadline. So he's like, oh, I gotta go.
Guys, his bodyguard would be like, "Do you know her?" He'd be like, "Yeah, Shaq know everybody.
Yeah.
Shaq know Lynn.
I'll have to
know
try
like
it.
5
They
a.m.
film movies here all the time, so I'll have to try it.
That's so awesome, dude.
I'll let you know.
Oh man, Shaq. You remember when you were in Kazam? I love that damn movie. Remember? That was a great movie. Hey, so living by Salem, was that a move that you made on purpose? Was that calculated, or was like
No, it sort of happened by chance. Like, I've moved all over New England while I've lived. I mean, New England is like, this big, like Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine's pretty big. But other than that, the rest of the states are all pretty small. So
the clam state. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I actually live in a town where a lot of the clams come from.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yes.
Are you a fan of clams? Do you eat clams?
Change the subject.
No? I don't know. Do you eat that, or is that oysters? You don't eat clams, right? Or do
I
you?
don't eat either.
I don't either. Somebody tried to tell me like, yeah, you just kind of eat it, right? And you put like some stuff. I don't know what it was, but
like an oyster?
yeah.
It's like a giant booger. Why would I want that?
It was
It's gross.
terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And it was like, there's just way easier ways to get a boner than eating this stuff. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. There wasn't even a pearl in there.
I think at that point, it's more of like a fear boner. Like,
Yeah.
Just like, what is this?
no! I'm so scared. I'm slightly erect for some reason.
does the month end with Y?
if you're in a restaurant, make you imagine like shucking. Is that what you do? You shuck oysters?
Oh,
or
hell
like
yeah.
you shuck
You
corn?
shuck-
Like you're shucking
Shook the
oysters?
shit out of him.
Dude, like how many times do you
Shook
think
hard.
those like kitchen guys find like pearls in there?
Oh, and they keep them, dude.
They keep them? You think they do? They just pop them in their pockets
Hell
until
yeah.
so like that's what they do. Like the kitchen guy, he shucks oysters for a year.
Yeah.
That way, whenever his anniversary comes up, he just gets a piece of fishing line and strings the pearls up, and his wife gets a new set of pearls every year.
She's like, he's so thoughtful. Oh my
I know.
god. pearls every year.
I don't know how he affords this on his salary.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, that's awesome, man. Hey,
Amanda, what's
Hi,
up?
Amanda.
Joe's wife in the building.
Aw.
Yeah.
Hi, Amanda.
We love each other.
Aw, that's so
You
cute.
got- Yeah, they're cute. Has
Yeah.
Joe ever gotten you a stolen pearl necklace from working in a oyster restaurant before?
No. So I mean,
So we were talking about Salem.
Salem, yeah, that's where we were. Salem. So living next to Salem, you got all this witchy stuff in the background. What's that all about? What's that about, Lynn?
I'm a witch.
I have always had like the like just so many questions about witches. We did this Halloween episode one day. Again, we prepared it 20 minutes before the show.
Beautiful.
And we started just talking about it. We're like, yeah, witches. And then we noticed that we don't know anything about witches except for the movie Hocus Pocus and Bewitched. And that's literally it. We're like, I don't know. Some are cool, some are not, and they like shake their noses.
That's what we do, in fact, all day long.
Yes.
It was if anybody that's like into witchcraft were to see that episode,
They would be so offended.
all right.
I'm gonna watch it now.
We tried.
We started out with the Munsters theme song.
I would love You'd be surprised. Most of us have a sense of humor about it.
Well, that's good. That's good. We were like, dude, they're gonna hex us like at the end of this thing. Like, it's where I got my beard from. I just started growing facial hair like crazy after the episode. So like what? I mean, I'm totally ignorant on the subject. What type of witchcraft do you practice, or is it just it's not that being a witch is a thing? It's a lifestyle.
It is, yeah.
You know?
So, well, one thing a lot of people are confused about with witchcraft, and it's even within the witchcraft community too. And I've been doing it for like 20 plus years at this point. Is the difference between Wicca and witchcraft? So Wicca is more of the religion; it's more of a spiritual practice, whereas witchcraft itself is actually just that, the craft. It's the spell work. It's all of the things you think of when you think of a witch. That's witchcraft. And so I've never been Wiccan. I've never been one that really works with deities. So most of the time most witches really are just eclectic witches because we take a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But I usually refer to myself as a Luciferian witch, which I know sounds very scary, but basically all a Luciferian is, so Lucifer in the Bible was the bringer of light. And so Luciferian simply means that you read and you educate yourself and you strive to kind of elevate your own intellect. And that's all it means. There's nothing more than that. So some Luciferians work with the angel Lucifer. I do. Some don't. That's cool too. Some are just very strictly don't work with any deities. I don't consider Lucifer a deity. Some people do, but they just don't work with any necessarily like spiritual beings. So yeah, I'm a Luciferian witch.
So is Stevie Nicks really a white witch?
I guess. I don't know her personally. I've heard, she has admitted to being a witch, but I don't know what kind of witch she is.
So how many different kinds? I mean, I guess you just kind of explained that, but like what types of witches are there? Like, are there different kinds? I mean, there's got to be a lot.
Yeah. Oh, there's a million different kinds. Yeah. So
we don't have to name them all.
Yeah. Let's sit back for an hour while I name them all off to you.
Top five.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, there's green witches, which is like, if I wasn't Luciferian, I would be considered a green witch because I work with a lot of like herbs and plants.
I think we lost her.
We
lost you for a second.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so I work with a lot of herbs and plants, so I would also be considered a green witch. That's what that means. It's just someone who works with herbs and plants a lot in their practice. Then there's a kitchen witch, somebody who just does it more practically, like as they're going about their daily life. It could be like while they're cooking, they infuse it with certain energies, or it's just kind of like they'll use things like from their spice cabinet that they already have in their kitchen. So that's kind of like a very general description of what a kitchen witch is. Then you can have Well, there are the different traditions if you want to get more formal, and those usually you have to have some formalized training by these particular groups like Gardnerian witchcraft and Alexandrian witchcraft. But there's not as many of them anymore as like when I first started out, there was a lot more of those groups, but now everybody's fairly eclectic for the most part. And then you have what some people call gray witches, which I would be considered. A gray witch is someone who isn't necessarily what you would call a white witch. They aren't a dark witch, whatever you want to refer to that as.
Yeah.
Which is also referred to as the right hand path and the left hand path. A gray witch practices either or depending on the situation. So it's just kind of like,
Right.
you know.
I wonder if a dark witch would ever admit publicly that she's a dark witch. I feel like a
Some
dark
do.
witch would be like Slytherin, like almost like they wouldn't really like advertise it. You know,
Some do. And it just depends. Like usually if you're doing that kind of work, you're not going to be telling anybody unless like sometimes there are some witches who absolutely refuse to do any type of work that could be considered harmful to someone else.
Yeah.
And so usually then they would come to someone like me and be like, hey, I'm having this problem. Can you do this? So I don't have to do it. So, you know, in that kind of situation, like you're usually not advertising what you're doing. But yeah, some people are free about it. They don't care. They'll just be like, yeah, I do it.
So I would probably be a green witch, dude. I work with herbs all the time. You know?
He's an herb guy.
And my wife would be a kitchen witch because she makes one hell of a chicken fried steak.
There you go.
Absolute witchcraft. I don't understand it.
That
Amazing.
mac and cheese was insane.
Mm.
So when I think the word magic, and I mean we talked about Luciferian. I mean I think that word just has such gravity and weight to it.
It does, yeah.
With somebody who's not really that hasn't done any research, which I mean I'm not saying that I have it all, but I'm definitely open to just hearing people that are that have been studying it for a while, their explanation of what that means, because there's such a stigma to words. Words have power. And I think that's the whole backbone of witchcraft in itself, is that words, you know, you call it, when you spell a word, what are you really saying? We're spelling, casting a spell, right? I think I might have stole that from you. So that might sound familiar. But yeah, like maybe explain what that means to be like this magic and what it really means.
Well, all it really is, like the very fundamentals of witchcraft is just energy work. It's your intention, and we tap into the natural energies around us. So if you're, say, a green witch, you're using the energies of the different plants and herbs and flowers, and they all kind of have their own specialties, I guess would be a good way to, you know, describe it. Like rosemary is good for protection, but it's also good for bringing money in. You know, so each plant kind of has its own like correspondences. And so you would tap into that energy just to enhance your own energy. But really you're just tapping into kind of the most generic way I could say is universal energy, the energy that's all around us, because we're all made up of energy. Like essentially that's all we all are. That's all everything is. And so witches have just learned how to tap into that energy and channel it to do whatever it is that they want to do. So it's your intent that channels the energy. That's the basics of it all.
So you're not saying like not all witches, like in the movies, they conjure a demon spirit. Like it's not all like that, right?
I do, but
oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Some do. Some do work with demons. I have worked with some demons, but not in that sense like you're thinking. So demons are basically just spirits as well. They're entities as well. And they actually, like, they really fascinate me, but I'm kind of a weirdo. You guys already know this. So, like, I'm just fascinated by demons. I'm always like, where do they come from? Who are they? What do they do? You know, like, and I have all these different theories. I do. Me too. I was actually talking to a fairly well-known demonologist yesterday. Like, he happened to make the mistake of messaging me like, hey, I would like to be on your show. I was like, oh, really? Let's chat. And had him on like, you know, Messenger for like 3 hours talking about things. So
I was like, oh, man, I caught the wrong person.
It's like, this is Todd from Pizza Hut. I mean, like, I don't
really know.
I don't know. Kidding. I didn't really know who you were. I just happened to choose a number.
This pizza is called the pentagram pizza.
Yeah.
Voila.
Funny enough, in Salem, we do have a restaurant called Flying Saucer Pizza.
I
Mm.
like
Actually
it.
delicious.
I
It's
like
delicious.
it.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. So, so I can't even remember what we were talking about
Yes.
now. Conjuring demons. Oh yeah, no, most of it is pretty like, it's like a lot of like candle magic or making oils or it's pretty mundane. It's not like crazy wild stuff.
So we always think of like demons as being like this like kind of scary negative thing. Like, are like some demons cool? And it just so happens that they're called demons,
Yeah.
like
They are. And I always say, like, I think demons are stereotyped as to being all bad, which, like, we wouldn't say that about any other species, if we want to call them a species, that every, being in that species is negative or evil. And so I think the same goes with demons. I've worked with some that are great. I mean, my experience is usually the lower level demons because they have kind of a hierarchy. So the lower level demons are the ones that are kind of like the mischief makers. They're going to be the ones that are causing all of the trouble. And they do feed off of energy. So it's kind of like, would you consider the lion evil because it ate the antelope? Well, the antelope probably would, but the lion's just trying to survive. So in this scenario, we're the antelope. So they're really just, they feed off of energy. And sometimes that energy is fear-based energy because it's a very strong emotion, right? Yeah. So I don't necessarily look at them as evil. Granted, it's not great, a lot of the things that some of them do. Not like saying, yes, that's awesome that she was possessed. Like I definitely would help someone out in that situation, as witches we kind of know how to do that. And specifically like someone like me who has worked with demons, I know how to say, okay, it's time to move along now. But no, they're not all bad. Like some of them are very cool. Some of them have like really interesting traits, and kind of similar to what I was saying with plants. Like there are certain demons that have certain affiliations. Like say you want, help with gaining more knowledge about plants. There is a specific demon that is good at like helping you gain more knowledge about plants and the natural world around you. It's not evil.
So yeah, maybe you already addressed this, but the difference between, I mean, again, we stated this before, like words are words. It's just like, we're trying to like use telepathy. Basically, when you say a word, you're trying to make my thought into your head. So the best I can do is angels and demons, good and bad, right?
Yeah.
And I think what we're inching towards here right now is just like, maybe it's a little bit more complicated than that. So in your perspective, like you mentioned that demons are more of the fear-based energy. So what would be the opposite of that? And what physical representation would that be? Or maybe, I don't know, consequential representation, because I feel like the fear-based energy and, evil would be like death, and the other one would be like life. So it almost seems like the negative energy is more transactional versus the positive energy is just it just happens. Like, I don't know.
I could see why you would think that, but actually, if you think of it, if they're feeding off of that fear-based energy, and it doesn't have to always be fear, but that's just a very common one. It's an easy one. If you think like spirits sometimes will feed off of fear energy too, because it's very easy for a spirit to scare the heck out of one of us because we can't see them and demons in the same way. But in my experience, like death is not the end game for a demon because it's eliminating its food source now. So it kind of would be counterintuitive for the demon to do that. And some people think like angels are all good, demons are all bad, but there are some angels that are kind of like, I don't know if you guys swear on here, but they're not the greatest.
Yeah.
We are not monetized, so we can say whatever the fuck we want.
Well, there's some angels that are just dicks. Like they really are. Like some of them are just, and some of them are really scary. So people have this idea that angels are all like sweet and nice and gentle, and they're not. I mean, angels, if you look also in the Bible, angels are warriors. And people who saw them were afraid of them.
Yeah, they have like 4 faces and stuff.
Yeah, they're crazy, like 10 eyes and all kinds of crazy, like fire, like the seraphim are all crazy looking.
Oh, man. Yeah, I've seen some photos and like, man, I would like, dude, if that showed up in my room, like I would be just as scared if it was a demon or an alien or like whatever it is. Like sometimes I think like maybe even my priest doesn't know this, right? Like, I think about it, like because I grew up in a really, really like Mexican Catholic, like Catholic, and so like I always think about that, and I'm like, does he know about this? Like,
He does.
They never told us that. Like, you know,
Right?
it's so like it's very misinforming.
Dude, if
a little upset.
If an angel or demon showed up in your room, they would say one thing. Hey, dude, can I hit that? Dude?
What are you doing?
Hey, is that cash or not? Dude?
So what is the difference in like, or is there a difference? Is this just a regional thing? Like, is there a difference in like jinn and like demons? Like, I've heard them compared similar, but also different. Like,
yeah, they're similar but different. Like, because a lot of people consider jinn like difficult to work with. They can be very mischievous. They can be what we would call harmful, like a demon could be. I put that in quotes, like it's not like harmful, like when somebody's possessed. It's harmful. It's not great. Again, not condoning that.
Right.
So jinn can be very difficult, and they usually, if you have grown up working with jinn and you know how to handle jinn, similar to demons, if you know how to handle demons, it's okay to work with them. But you have to have kind of that knowledge and that relationship with the jinn. So in some ways, yes, they are considered very similar, but they are separate entities, in my opinion.
So are they a little bit more difficult to work with, or are they just a separate, totally separate thing, you know? Like
I mean, from what I've heard, I've never tried working with a jinn just because I don't have that relationship with them. But I've heard from other people is that, they can be difficult to work with. And you have to know what you're doing. Just like I wouldn't recommend, that like someone who's been practicing witchcraft for a year or even 5 years or 10 years start working with demons. Like, you have to know what you're doing. You have to really research it and educate yourself and know how to go about it. And I think the jinn is the same way. And the jinn are actually more regional. They're usually found more in the Middle East. Yeah. So think of a jinn as similar to like a genie. Like that's kind of the feeling that a genie, like a jinn, genie. But like a very mischievous genie, someone that's like, you're going to make a wish. Okay, let me twist that around and make it,
like
that's
Shaq.
great for you. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
full circle.
It all comes back to Shaq. I'm telling you.
Let me grant your wish one time. Hey,
You want to make a wish come true?
hey,
I'll share.
hey, y'all want to come
So
back?
I heard this story, and I don't know how accurate it is. Maybe you can fill me in with it. But there was I guess talking about the jinn and stuff. There was a point where God had said to his angels, I've created the perfect creation, which is human, and you all bow down to them. And the angels said yes. And the jinn were like, I don't really know about that. And they kind of walked the earth and kind of caused these little mischief, and caused trouble and stuff. I don't know if that story, how accurate that is, but
I haven't heard that. I mean, that may be, the Quran may have stories about the jinn, which I'm not familiar with. Like, I do know the Bible because a lot of people find this really strange, but I was actually in seminary for a while because I just find religion fascinating.
Yeah.
So I was in an old Catholic seminary. What? And I know most people are like, what? And like, part of the reason I joined was because I wanted to learn about the ritualistic side of Christianity. I find history fascinating in general. So I wanted to learn more about history and about demons from their perspective. And that is actually the story of Lucifer. What you just said was that God created humans and said, this is my greatest creation ever. And if you think about it, I mean, are we really like, angels are fairly superior, in my opinion, in their abilities. We're kind of assholes. Like, so Lucifer was like, no, I'm not bowing down to these creatures. Sorry, I came first and I have so much more power than they do. Why should I be bowing down to them? And he also wanted to impart knowledge to humans as well. And so that was one of the reasons that God cast Lucifer out, because he was like, whoa, you're telling them way too much. Absolutely not. We can't have this. They're my greatest creation, but we got to keep them ignorant.
Right,
it's kind of like my interpretation of it. It's probably not accurate from a
I've always had an issue with that as well. It's like, well, this dude wanted to give us knowledge. Like, is it just like, it's like a subservient thing. It's like, I'm going to create you, but you can't know anything.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like,
just trust me. Like,
I don't know about that. Like,
I
don't know about this guy. I don't know about this guy Satan either, right?
Yeah.
But like, it seems to be a little tricky as well. Like, do we have to be involved with either?
At the same time, that sentiment of like, hey, just trust me, like that's one of the beautiful qualities of religion, and that's why it works for so many people, because if you could just surrender yourself and just fully believe and know that there's some energy looking out for your best interest at all. I mean, man, I think that's beautiful. So, I mean, I feel like I had to say that.
No, absolutely. I have nothing against, like I said, I think religions are fascinating, and Christianity, like I grew up in a Christian household. Like we were like holiday Christians, like, oh, it's Easter, it's time to go to church. That kind of a Christian. Yeah. So it wasn't like a very strong Christian household, but I think, people who find comfort, who find healing, or who find just that like sense of peace through their religion, then that's great. It works for them. It's just not my thing. But I also am kind of a weird enigma even within the witchcraft community, because I do work with a Christian entity. Lucifer is technically a Christian entity. Like there are theories that Lucifer was also known by other names in older civilizations, but
Beelzebub.
So here's the thing most people don't know. Lucifer was never specified to be the devil in the Bible. There was a pope that made that connection.
Yeah, I thought
in the Bible, nowhere it says in the Bible that Lucifer is the devil.
Right.
And the word "the devil" didn't it derive from some other language? Like it wasn't actually in Hebrew. Like that's not a Hebrew word. No, at all. It's like marijuana.
Yeah, they don't believe in the devil. They have no devil in Hebrew religion, from my understanding.
That was made from Bobby Boucher's mom. Everything was the devil. I remember I was watching the show Vikings, right? And I love that show. I know, I do too. And I was watching it at my parents' house, and there was this scene where they're all painted up and they have like this blood, and they're drinking it like out of a skull, and there's all this fire and stuff. And my mom, she was like, oh, that's so scary. Like just the culty ritualistic stuff is so scary. And I kind of looked at her and I was like, you go to church every Sunday and drink the blood of somebody and eat their body. Like, and you guys all go to this big building with like creepy music, and like there's a guy that stands at the top in this massive robe. Like it's the exact same thing. Or their faces aren't painted, but you're literally doing the exact same thing. She's like, well, Jesus and stuff.
Yes, it's absolutely true. And it's very ritualistic. And behind the scenes, before you go to mass, the priest is up there blessing things. He is putting, same as a witch would, we would put our intent into something. He is therefore blessing it with the sign of the cross. So he's also doing the same thing. He's putting that intent into the wine and consecrating it and making it into the blood of Christ, and into the bread, or those little like weird styrofoam wafer things, making it the body of Christ,
It's so delicious, by the way.
Yeah. No, not really.
I wanted more.
What you don't know though is that if you go to a Mexican Catholic church, they're tiny tortillas.
Oh, see, that would be good. In a Protestant church, you actually get the wine and you get little chunks of bread.
Yes.
Yes.
So
there's like chorizo on it.
Oh, nice.
Like tiny tacos.
Taquito niño taquito.
So de Jesus.
Yes. Yes, I love it, man. Oh man, like when you go like down to like, I know we would go as a family. We would always take these little pilgrimages, they would call them, down to San Juan, and this is down like in McAllen, Texas, and it's right on the border. And they have this massive church there. And it was incredible to see, like, people will literally crawl on their knees for miles, like from their house, and they'll crawl to this church on their knees. And like, it's a sight to see. Like they have like all the stations of the cross, and people will literally be on their knees and just crawl. And like they'll have their hands folded and they'll just crawl on their knees. And it's like, that is some power. Like there's like some power in that, like your belief. And it's always been strange to me, like even as a kid, because I told this story on another podcast that we did where like I saw the movie Fire in the Sky when I was like a kid, but it was like an accident. I wasn't supposed to watch it. I did, and like I started having all these questions on like, wait, this is based on a true story? Like I've never heard anything like this. And like, so I'm questioning all this stuff. And then I started thinking about, man, like these people are crawling on their knees. That's some kind of power. And then, I've always had just like this open mind, like all these other religions and like cultures and people do certain things. And it's like, how can all these people be wrong?
Well, they're not if it works for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's not so much like the structure or the power or like I'm this religion or I'm whatever you want to call it, whether you're a witch or you're just some dude who believes in magic or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call yourself. There's like a power in like just your intent and like what you believe behind the universe, I guess.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's all about intent. And there's also, have you heard of the concept of thought forms or egregores, or the Buddhists call them tulpas? And, in witchcraft, we use those as well. Like we can create thought forms, which is basically kind of an entity that you bring to life through your own power of intention. And so I always wonder, like, okay, so there are, millions and probably billions of people that believe in Christianity, but there are also billions of people that believe in Hinduism and billions that believe in, Buddha. So I always wondered, like, are these beings that they're like praying to, if you have that much intent being put out there into the world, are they then creating their own God? Or is this something that existed before? But in my experience with witchcraft, I would say the intent creates the being. So it's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Like that.
I've even thought even with all the different types of beliefs and stuff, like, are these the same things showing up and people are just calling them different names, like all throughout history and whatever culture that you're brought up in? Like, are we all talking to the exact same things and we're just labeling them as something different?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you can find differences in what you're talking to and like what's happening and stuff like that. But, I always thought like maybe it's the same thing and we're just calling it all something different.
Yeah. Okay. So here's to make it even more complicated. Perhaps there was this one universal source, right? Let's just say a source. The Christians call that God. The Buddhists call that Buddha. Though Buddha didn't create the world, but to make it very simplistic,
right.
The Hindus call that Shiva. So now there was this one universal source, but as people have approached it from different perspectives, has that one universal source split off into these different beings and become more than just the one?
So it started out as an intent, an energy that was manifested by will of enough people to believe in something that could be possible. And at one point, I'm just like break down this in my head, like, woo, I love that. Okay.
Yeah, it's like the Slender Man phenomenon,
where it's just
Slender Man was kind of brought into being by people believing that he existed.
Right. I like to say Slenderman. Slenderman.
Yes. Excuse me. Pardon me. The Slenderman effect.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've always found it interesting too that, like, you have all these cultures from like the beginning of time, and there's like there's many deities in all these different cultures, and then it's not till like after the fall of the Egyptian empire that you start seeing this monotheistic system come into play, and you're like, wait a second. This one dude, like, all of a sudden, out of all of human history, and now this one dude who rules all, like, comes into play, and is like, where was he at the beginning?
Right.
And that kind of goes back to your intent, your initial, like, well, maybe there was this singular source and it broke off into all these different ones. Like, I don't know, man.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I think it depends on the person too. Like, if you say we talk about Egyptian history, if you look at Akhenaten, he tried to create a singular god from a pantheon. He tried to worship Ra, and the people just were not thrilled with this concept. And so, whatever happened to him. We don't know exactly what happened to him. But then when Tutankhamun, who was his son, came, he brought all of the pantheon back. Did you know, interesting tidbit, that Tutankhamun's original name was not Tutankhamun? It was Tutankhaten, because he was named after his father, but he wanted to get rid of that association. And so he became Tutankhamun, which Amun was the kind of like head god in the Egyptian pantheon. I lived in the Middle East for a while.
Whoa.
I don't know if I told you guys
That's
that
pretty
too.
awesome.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'd imagine like living in if they lived in such close quarters that tooting would be pretty common in that area. So I get it.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh,
Sure.
dude.
Who knows what they ate? So
No one knows. No one knows, dude.
it's a lot of roughage. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if they worship the cat, worship the bull, and like
Mhm.
and worship there was Anubis, the
hawk.
dog,
Yeah.
and the bird. Like, what else is there? It's like hippos. Did hippos exist?
They had a hippo god.
What did
did,
they eat, man? Wheat, maybe.
Wheat.
Wheat.
Barley.
Barley. Maybe they just drank beer.
Yeah,
I
the
mean, I
potato
know-
was really big in Egypt.
That's what that light bulb glyph is. It's not a light bulb.
Yeah.
It's a
It's a potato.
It's a potato.
They're like making a baked potato. I don't know why nobody gets this.
It's so simple.
You idiots! We showed you how to bake a potato thousands of years ago.
And instead,
Right.
you made some light bulb thing.
Like-
What is that?
Like everybody's trying so hard for like crops to like move it around in different climates. The climate's changing. Like, and the potato's sitting there like, guys, I could grow literally anything.
Yeah.
Just put me in a
Literally
duck-
anywhere.
Put me somewhere. I will flourish.
Or they were
Throw
trying to
me
tell
in some
you,
poop, I'll be good.
Exactly.
Just do it.
you can literally leave me on your counter and I'll start sprouting.
Yeah.
That's all you gotta do. Like, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's hilarious, dude. Like, it's this diagram of like a light bulb, but it is a potato. But they knew that you could make electricity from potatoes in
You
the
can.
first
That's
place.
right. I didn't
So-
even think of that.
They were like,
That's
you
right.
guys are dumb.
There's always that one kid at the science fair who makes like the potato clock.
Yeah. Can you imagine being a judge for like a high school science fair for like 30 years and every
Right.
year some kid makes a potato clock?
You're right. It's like, I
Yeah.
don't know the potato. Break.
We're just gonna
Original.
average this out and call it a B plus.
Yeah.
After a while, you're like, damn, how many ways can you make a volcano?
I mean,
Oh,
put
gosh.
baked potato volcano, man.
There you
the next step.
go. Yeah.
Dude,
Mashed
you ma-
potato volcano.
Oh.
Make the mashed potatoes come out. That would be me at the science fair.
It spits gravy everywhere.
Yeah.
There's just potatoes coming down the side.
Delicious.
Oh, that's the best volcano ever.
that sounds
And you peel the potato skin and you set it on your volcano to make it look like a
Yes.
volcano.
Yes. I love
Golly.
it. I love it.
We would kill high school science
Oh,
fair.
yeah.
We all need to
Right?
get together. Show
Yes.
these kids.
Yeah.
lab group. You know, it's funny. Like
Yeah.
in like high school, did you ever get like the teacher tried to like pair you off with like some smart kids, some dumb kids like me, and then like once all the dumb kids actually got together, which was very rare, we would like crush it.
Yeah.
It's like we
Yes.
would all step up to the plate and like, I know some shit.
Because you were so much more creative than the
Yes.
smart people. The smart people were just very by the book. Creative people were like, we're going to make this to where it doesn't even fit through the door. Let's do it.
It's true. It's true. I mean, like, not to brag, but I was always in the AP bio classes and the the honors. And I was always like, what? Like, it's some of the things that some of the groups came up with. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, how did they come up with this?
Yes.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, bringing it back around to like we were talking about, I want to get back.
Potatoes.
Well, potatoes, obviously,
Potatoes.
but that frame of mind, right? Like we think now as a society, we look back at these ancient civilization and say, no way. Like, how did they think of that? Just because we can't figure out how they did it and where that idea comes from doesn't mean that they came up with that idea, man. I'm
Right.
channeling my David Childress right here. Giant
David
giant
Childress.
potatoes, giant spawns.
My 14-year-old daughter does a spot on David Childress. It's amazing.
That is so good, man.
I love
It's
that.
Hilarious. Have you seen the giant balls video that he does? It's
No.
like it's somebody like has like 4 minutes clipped out where
I don't think
all
he
did-
made it. I think somebody.
He didn't make it. Somebody else made it. It's like a 4-minute video clipped out of him just being like giant balls, giant rocks, giant balls.
And these balls were
Balls were
giant.
giant.
I wonder if like he ever listened to himself. Like, does he watch himself and go like, do I you know how like the first time you hear yourself, like the first time I was like, I had initially had a hard time watching myself on video. I was like, oh, that's horrible. Like, is that what I sound like? How annoying. Can you imagine being David Childress and me going like,
oh no,
is that what I sound like?
I'm gonna be a South Park character. I know it.
Yeah, we passed him in the hallway at our first UFO conference, and we were like too nervous to like say what's up. He's like,
oh, you needed me there. But like, yo, David Childress.
I wanted to give him a hug real bad.
We did like 3 episodes, and the first episode just made fun of everybody. So we're like, we don't know how well received we're gonna be.
No one's.
We were like, why does everybody in the UFO field just look like Hot Topic managers? Like, like we're just clowning on people. Like, it's so funny.
No, we have become.
Right now, you've become the Hot Topic people.
Yes, it happened. It happened naturally, and I'm okay with it.
We didn't realize there was a lot of science going on.
Right.
And that's when Ben and I became Dr. Scientists.
That's the whole precipice of Dr. Scientist.
And I'm so excited. I want to become a Dr. Scientist too.
Well, now that you've been on the show, our show, we send you a t-shirt. So we'll talk off.
I will wear it with pride. I will wear it on one of my Paranormal Spirits episodes.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Okay, I'll send 2 for
send
awesome.
one for
Both
Caitlin
guys.
too. Yeah,
Caitlin
I love it.
That means you got to send us a box of wine.
Oh,
and
sure.
we'll drink it on the garage, man.
I love that. That's what I'm known for. Booze.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
booze is pretty cool.
It's, you know, what's so funny though, is when I was on, I think it was probably when I was on one of the roundtables, on Spaced Out Radio. I don't know if you guys were on it at that point in time. You and I might have been chatting, Ben, like in the background, but like Dave was announcing, you know, that I was going to be taking over the Saturday night shows. And
I was on that one.
Remember, people in the chat room were like, "Are you bringing the drinking game?" And I was kind of like,
"Yes,
you know."
Yes. Yeah, I wasn't on that. But I was chatting with you. I had a few glasses of wine. And I was like, "Oh my god, look at all this shit." Yeah, but like that's awesome. I love that idea. So the drinking game, Joe, when we were talking about having you and Caitlin on, Joe was like, "We need to have something fun with these girls. Let's do a drinking game." We did not know that you already had a drinking game. I promise. They already have.
Well,
they're way ahead of us.
The original idea was to get like a group of people together, like y'all, and then like Dave, and like whoever else we could like get a hold of, and be like, you know, have you ever seen Drunk History, where they just get so hammered
people
and then
like compared our show to that?
Yeah.
Somebody just wrote Drunk History in the comments, and I was like, thank you.
There you go. There you go. And that was the idea, that like I just crash at Ben's house and like we just get like way too stupid hammered, like to where you're gonna regret it the next morning, and just try and talk about UFOs and see how it goes.
I think we still need to do that. Caitlin and I would totally be down for that, for sure.
Because we drink, but we still stay like cognizant enough to like, okay, I can go home after this. You know, we just have a good time. But like this, we're talking like
Joe's it's a slumber party.
It's a slumber party.
Yeah, so that's when you guys come on our show, because Caitlin and I are already both at our houses. So there are some episodes that you'll see them and it's like maybe 10 minutes, but it took us an hour and a half because we were like, so then there was a UFO that flew over a plateau in
I was
1962.
I was so curious about that because like I started to notice the more I started watching y'all's episodes. I was like, oh shit, these girls are partying hard.
Yeah, some of them, because like I said, we record more than one at a time, and we're drinking through all of them. So by the third one, we save like the dumbest one for the third one because we know we're going to be like smashed at that point. Yes. And so that's usually when the funniest stuff comes out, because we're just like saying stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And
y'all's so they do we need to figure out how to do a live like push button, because do they you've seen the show, they do y'all do the fart noises like on command
when we mess up.
Funny. Oh my god!
Every time you mess up a word, you got to drink.
I can send that sound to you. I'll send that sound clip to you.
Oh god!
And there's like 3 different ones or something, right? Like it sounds different.
No, it's just the same one. It's the same one. Yeah, it's actually a French horn. Believe it or not.
That makes it even better.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes. I heard that. I was like, that is perfect. I'm the one responsible for putting in all the stupid sound effects and ridiculously dumb graphics. That's me.
All right.
You can tell. There's a lot of effort put into it.
Yeah, there is. Sometimes actually there is. I'm like, I spent an hour on this ridiculous graphic.
Oh my gosh.
Like the preacher and the cross-eyed preacher and the devil. Like, have you seen that one yet? The devil wrestling the cross-eyed preacher?
I don't think so.
I don't think I've seen
So
that
we
one.
have. So throughout, you'll notice, like, if you watch more of our, it got dark in here all of a sudden. Oh, come on, let there be light.
Make it happen.
Lightbringer.
You're a witch.
Yeah, right. Come on, Lucifer, where are you?
It's time to get some herbs out, man.
Yeah.
Where are the herbs at?
You just light some candles. That's why witches do it. We're just in the dark.
It's always dark.
So throughout our show on different episodes, somehow I don't even remember how we started it, but we somehow on one episode talked about John Cena being the devil. So we have this like John Cena kind of wrestling thing, and I put devil horns on him, and he pops up throughout different episodes. And so when I found this episode or this story about a preacher in Massachusetts back in the 1700s who claimed that he wrestled the devil, and the creature was legitimately cross-eyed. And when I say like cross, he was like cross-eyed. Like you see even his portrait is like cross-eyed. And one guy had the greatest comment on that episode. He said something like, "One eye went to the store, the other brought back change." Like, which I was just like, yes, thank you so much. But so we had the devil John Cena wrestling the cross-eyed preacher, and we made this whole, like, before we put that video out, we made like a wrestling ad. It was like, what do you call it? I can't remember what we called it. It was like the Sunday Smackdown or something.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Something absolutely ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't even remember why I'm talking about that, but yeah.
I love that. I love that, man.
Oh, the graphics. Yeah. So those graphics took a little while because I had like the preacher pushing John Cena off of a church, falling down. He's like, bloop, bloop, bloop.
It's like some like real Monty Python type like animation.
It is. It's like, I love it.
Oh God, I
Ridiculous.
love Monty Python, dude. It's
Yeah.
so hilarious. And that's another like witch reference that just cracks me up every single time. Is that the Holy Grail when
Yes.
when they find the witch, they're like, she's a
Are you
witch.
witch?
No, like, how do you know she's a witch? And that fool's like, she looks like one. They're like, she's like, this isn't a real nose, it's a fake one. It's like a carrot, and they put it on her.
That's awesome.
Is there some truth in that? Like, did like these like dark age people like what like in that part of the movie? They're like, yeah, well, wood burns, and so do witches, but like how else can you make sure that she's a witch? And they're like, build a bridge out of her. And they're like, no. What's another way? Like, you see if they float. Like, like if a witch is the same buoyancy as like a duck, then that means that she's made of wood, which means you can burn her. Right?
She's a witch, but if she sinks and drowns, she was innocent.
She was innocent.
Goes to heaven. She goes to heaven.
If she, oh, you said.
Lucky
I thought you
her.
said if she stinks. Okay.
No.
If she stinks.
If she stinks, she's a witch.
I
even here in Salem, they did some really weird stuff too.
Yeah.
Like, they would talk about the witch's mark, which was basically supposed to be like a third nipple on a witch's body that their familiar drank from. And so they would like strip these witches down and find something on their body. And like, depending on who the inquisitor was, they poked it with a long needle. And if it hurt, you were found to be a witch. With a different inquisitor, if you poked it and it didn't hurt, you were a witch. So it was just kind of like, some of the stuff was crazy. They even hung 2 dogs here in Salem for giving people the evil eye. I know, isn't that crazy?
No
Whoa.
way. That's because that person was making that dog uncomfortable. That's the only reason dogs do that.
Right? The dog's
side
like,
eye.
Ben, were you telling me the story?
That.
Were you telling me the story about those ladies who were falsely accused of being a witch because the guy who ran the town wanted their land?
Yeah, that happened in Salem.
It was in Salem,
I
right?
watched. I can't remember. I wish I could, but it was a show. Man, it had to do with Salem, and it interviewed some Wiccans or witches. And I'm still. I know, Lynn, that you're probably hating me right now for not. You just told us what the difference was.
No,
I'm sorry if I'm offending you. Damn it. But they were explaining that in Salem, a lot of the witch trials, which actually didn't happen, and not a lot of them that are famous did not actually happen because of anyway. I'm probably butchering all this, but one of the stories is that it had to do with land. Like people, if you wanted to take over someone's land, you had to either wait till they died or buy it from them, or like forcibly give them to you. So people would just make shit up. So it was like, you could tell the story. Are you familiar with the story?
Yeah, I'm actually training to be a tour guide in Salem right now. So I know all of this stuff. Yes. So that actually there was this law in Salem at the time during the witch trials that if you accuse someone of being a witch and they were found guilty, you could have a part of their land, some of their property, some of their money, and then kind of the corrupt government would take the rest. So yeah, it was a way to either get rid of someone you didn't like Giles Corey. He was actually really hated in the community because he was just this grumpy, crotchety old man. He wasn't like, he was portrayed as this like hero who stood up for his values. He really wasn't. He was actually really hated in the community. He was just a horrible human being. But so plenty of people lined up to accuse Giles Corey because they wanted to get rid of him. And Bridget Bishop, she was the first one hung. A lot of the women didn't like Bridget Bishop because she
was fine.
She was way prettier.
She was, yes. And she dressed immodestly, for their time. Like, she wore bright colors. Oh, horror.
Did you see her pinky?
Did you see the red she wore?
Her neck is showing.
Those ankles.
Exactly. So she was accused too. Yeah. So it was just a way to get their property, and to get rid of them. Which is sad to think that was what they did, but they did.
Yeah. They were like, is this bitch wearing sandals? She's
right. She's a witch for sure. Come on.
I will own all of your land.
Dude,
now.
That's so terrible.
Yeah,
what do they call are dude witches called witches too?
Warlocks.
Oh.
Is that made up? Is that from Halloween Town?
No,
is that from Halloween Town?
Okay, this is my view. My view alone. I apologize to any warlocks out there, but witch is a unisex term. There are male witches and there are female witches. It doesn't matter. You could be non-binary witch. You could be whatever you want. Witch is a general term. Then there are the guys that call themselves warlocks.
So they're like the Chads.
They are like automatically douchey in my book. If they say they're a warlock, I'm like,
yeah,
okay. Awesome.
Actually, I know a really great guy named Chad. So sorry, but you know what I mean. It's like,
except for Jack Black, right? Because he has this song, "I am the Warlock."
Yeah, well, Jack Black can be whatever he wants.
I'll eat your soul.
Yeah, but when you see these, there's very, very few of them in Salem who walk around with the cloak and they call themselves warlocks, and I'm like, we all know who you are, and you're kind of a bitch, There's one. I'm not saying who he is. He's very famous in Salem, but he's very.
But what is his name though?
I'll tell you later.
You could probably Google famous warlock in Salem.
You could. You absolutely could, and I'm sure he would come up.
You'd have to like duck go it for sure.
We're gonna have to. We should have him on the show and call him a witch, and he'd be like, "I'm a warlock.
I'm a warlock.
Stop it! I'm a warlock. I'm offended."
Oh my God, yeah.
No, but then he would do it.
He was on one of the paranormal shows, and they had him like in the witch house. They did an investigation, and he was there, and he was like, dressed in his cloak with his dark eyeliner, holding a skull, and look into the face of death. And I was just kind of like, dude, come on.
Is his name Chris
you're
Angel?
Just at home, like playing D&D with your buddies. Like, stop. You're not that cool.
So sometimes I hear words differently, and because I have terrible hearing from loud music for like 15 years of my life, and when you said look into a skull, I thought you said scone. I made like 10 times. Look into my scone.
My scone of
my
death.
evil scone.
Tomatoes and lamb.
That sounds delicious, dude.
With a little bit of sauce and some lettuce. Yes.
The apt amount of creme fraiche.
Dude, I will look in that scone. As long as you
quaking in fear from the scone of death.
Oh no, not the crumble pastry.
Oh my God,
dude!
I see a Paranormal Spirits episode in my future.
There we go.
I'm gonna have to sneak the scone of death into something somehow.
Yes,
I will do it, and I'll tell you. I'll be like, watch this episode.
The sorcerer's scone. Oh, dude, that's awesome.
That's hilarious.
Dude, that'd be tough. because like we parody a lot of stuff like in the UFO community, we make fun of it, and I kind of be worried to like parody, like have somebody on like witchy other than you because you're pretty cool. I'd be a little nervous to parody some witchy person, and they're like,
yeah,
like that.
I mean,
most witches are like totally fine with it. Like a lot of us have, like you have to be, you know, because there are people that are just like witches. They're not real, you know. Like just some like people just like say all kinds of crazy stuff, and so most of us have a pretty good sense of humor about it. But some are a little more serious than others, but that's okay. None of my friends are all like as ridiculous as I am. So
so
like a weird group.
In the witch category, where does voodoo like kind of come in, like hoodoo and like that, you know? That real, like,
I love that you know hoodoo and voodoo.
Yeah.
Okay, so hoodoo and voodoo is very similar to Wicca and witchcraft. Voodoo is the religion. Hoodoo is the magic, the spell work. So some witches do incorporate, like I do incorporate some aspects of hoodoo into my practice.
You're like, here's somebody's head that shrunk last week.
Here's a scone.
Yes. So this is my mom Brigitte, and she is one of the Loa. And her husband is Baron Samedi, who is kind of like the guardian of the dead. So of course I love him. He's actually down there too, but he's behind a bunch of stuff. So I do incorporate some of them, like, and I don't necessarily work with them because I'm not a hoodoo practitioner, and I certainly would never like claim to know a ton about it. But I go to New Orleans every year, so I've kind of like absorbed some of it into my practice. You know, like when I go into a cemetery, I will, you know, ask the guardian of the cemetery for permission and view the cemetery as like a crossroads between the living and the dead. And crossroads are another thing, even like literal, like where the roads cross in hoodoo, that's a tradition is to use that to like bury things, depending on whatever it is you're doing. And so I've done that as well. So there are witches that do incorporate hoodoo into their practice. And there are some who are just like hoodoo witches.
So I have a question about, okay, so I don't know if we had talked about this off air with a guest of ours, or if it was on air, but an individual, a friend of ours received a bone of some sort in the mail. And I had some, you know what I'm talking about? I know what you're talking about. Had some really unfortunate, you know, sequences of events for years. And the moment they got rid of that present, that necklace that had like some kind of bone, I don't want to give too many specifics away. Right. It's not my story to tell, but like, is that indicative of either thing that you're talking about with hoodoo or voodoo?
It could be a curse, or it could be like just some dark magic that like somebody infused it with something, and you know, here you go, here's a present for you. You know, I mean, it's just like, even if you think of in the paranormal community, there can be spirit attachments to objects. Well, in witchcraft and hoodoo, we can do the same thing. We can attach energies to an object. Just like, you know, like a lot of the things that we use regularly, like I have my pendulum back there, that would be infused with energy. Yeah. So you can do that to any item. Yeah. So it sounds like maybe there was a little something.
So, I mean, this individual was under the impression that it was not technically witchcraft, but it was a little, to say like, it was a different hierarchy. It had to do a little bit with I'm just going to say the Illuminati in a way, but that's the wrong word, but you catch my drift. Yeah. There's other terms for it, but it's kind of this secret. Not a lot of people know about it. And there's a couple of terms. I don't want to give away too many details. But
they use a lot of occult practices in those secret societies. So it's all the same. It's the same stuff. It's just different words, different terms. But it's all intention. It's all energy. It's all the same stuff, and basically.
So, I mean, that's just, I don't know, I'm so glad you said that. It was like, I had a hunch that it doesn't matter. Again, back to full circle, back to what you call things, names, like really, it doesn't matter. It's the intent behind it and the effects that happen to it when you apply intent, whether it be one person or multiple people. Yeah. I think the more people you have, I mean, we could even tie that back into prayer. The more people you have praying to something and putting their positive intent, it tends to change this, whatever this reality is. And I think that's just fun to think about. And obviously the story of our friend that received a bone in the mail. Like
Yeah.
that's dude. That's
Did they
terrible.
know who? Did they know who it came from? Oh, they did, and they thought it was just like a weird present.
Yeah.
Like here's
Yeah.
a bone.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be like, awesome,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Right.
They just
Yeah.
thought it was a neat little trinket that was
Mm.
sent, because when you kind of get into this stuff and you meet
Yeah.
people and they all do different things, it's like somebody sends you something and you're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
neat,
Well,
Yeah,
like
you put it
I
on
mean,
your
I know
shelf and
bones
and-
all over there. Like I
Right.
wouldn't think anything of it. Yeah, so I could see how they would probably just be like, oh, but
yeah.
Yeah, see
Yeah,
that,
that's
and as soon as
unfortunate.
they got rid of it, things started looking up pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
oh, that sounds like that's probably what it was then.
Yeah.
You remember the conversation we had with Chad and Alta, and they talked about living in the top floor. They lived down in New Orleans, and
Mm.
underneath of them there was somebody who practiced hoodoo,
Mhm.
and she had an altar set up, and the
Yeah.
husband had passed away, and like they would be down there, and she would be practicing all the time, and the building actually caught on fire, and everything burnt except for her altar. Everything was
Wow.
burnt to the ground except for her
That's
altar
interesting.
and the clothes that she wore, because she had like his wedding suit and her wedding
Mm.
dress, and
Aw.
that's where she would go and like do her practice, and like
Yeah.
everything burnt down except for that specific area. Just,
Well, in hoodoo, they do a lot of ancestral work too. Oftentimes they have an ancestral altar. I used to have one. I don't have one. I have several altars. Like you can actually see them. That is one. That is one. So yeah, I mean, altars are just like it's similar to an altar in a church. It's where the priest conducts his rituals, right? An altar in the church. And it's the same for witchcraft and hoodoo. Your altar is kind of like your sacred space where you conduct your work.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that if she was, she lost her husband, she was probably doing ancestral work and working with him, doing spirit work. I like to work with spirits. That's one of the things I do. Not all witches do. So
spirits.
yeah, he may
Oh,
have
hell
connected it.
yeah.
Spirits. You
Yeah.
work with them.
Spirits, yes. Spirits
Lynn,
of all kinds.
Lynn, you made me think of something, and I just, this is what my brain does. It likes making connections, and I'm terrible at it usually, but I think I'm onto something here. Let me know what you think about this.
Tell me about it.
This shrine or this altar thing. How different is a typical like spooky shrine with like candles and like little figurines and like flowers and some sage or whatever?
Mhm.
How different is that than someone's office desk with photos of their family and little trinkets from their life? How different is that?
It's different in some ways, but in some ways it's not. You're right, because those are things that will bring a certain energy to your desk, right? Your family is there, your loved ones. You're looking at pictures of your loved ones. It's bringing a certain kind of comforting energy, positive energy to your desk.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I have my altar back here, and I have like this little deer skull with little moss and crystals on him, and he's very cute, and candles, and so those types of things, like they're more decorative than they are anything. I mean,
Oh, they
candles
look
we do.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, right? You want to see
Yeah.
him? He's very cute.
Oh,
Right.
dude.
I don't like pull my. He's
Yes.
so cute.
That's awesome.
He's got like a quartz crystal here. He's got some amethyst.
That's
He's the cutest,
cool.
right? So I mean, he doesn't
Is
do
that,
much.
is that a pronghorn? Is that I think we
It's
saw a
a-
couple.
It's a deer of some sort. I can't remember what kind of deer it is. I get it from the store in Salem where they get like all of their bones
deer
ethically sourced.
The deer store.
yeah.
Deer store.
I'll
Come
just
here
put
for
it right
all of
here.
your deer needs.
You're right, yeah. For all of your bone needs. Yeah.
Some jerky in the
It's very
back.
good. But yeah, so something like that, like some witches would argue, and I would agree, like there's the energy of the stones, there's the energy of the deer, that kind of add to this, like similar to a picture of your family member. It adds this like positive energy to it. The only difference is that the altar is where I would do my magical workings, whereas a desk is where you would just do your kind of like day-to-day office work.
Right.
Masturbating.
So in that sense, it's similar. Whatever you do, no judgment on my part.
Sometimes there's a computer and you're home alone. I mean, whatever.
It's a different energy of its own. That's
super powerful.
see, you're a witch too, and you didn't even know it. Some witches will use
Masturbation
that as
propulsion
well.
technology.
Dude, I
dude.
practice at least 4 minutes
Yes.
a day.
Hey, there's sex magic, so you could. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, what you're saying is it's all focused. So, like, where this normalized idea of putting the things that make you feel good, it's just the most rudimentary thing. Like, I love looking at photos of loved ones. I honestly, my computers take up too much space on my desk, but like my wife has a great knack of like decorating her desk with like nice little plants and some photos. And I'm like, oh, babe, it feels so nice in here. Like that's why, because she surrounds herself with these good energies, and being able to articulate that and hone that and really focus that. I mean, I think we're speaking the same language.
It is same language, different words. Yeah. It's just, like aesthetics. Yeah. So there is such a thing as a witchy aesthetic. Some people and some people in the witchy community like have an issue with aesthetic witches, which is basically just that. It's someone who likes to look like they're a witch, but they don't necessarily practice, but they decorate their home to look like this, like they like to be surrounded by that witchy aesthetic. Yeah. And I have no problem with that, because I think, the more people that get into it in any way normalizes it, because it's not scary. It's not. There are some things that, might be a little bit scary to people if they don't understand it. But so it's just surrounding yourself with a certain energy. Yeah. And decorating your house is the same thing.
One of my favorite representations of a witch is from the Disney classic Bedknobs and Broomsticks. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I saw it when I was a kid. I don't remember though. Okay, remind me.
Oh, I loved it, man. So it was about this this family, and it was right after, I guess, World War II, and they sent these kids to foster homes, and they ended up getting sent to this witch's house, and she was like, I didn't order any kids. And they're like, well, we're just placing kids in homes right now. Sorry, your name came up on the list. And she's like, well, great. Okay. Well, then you just stay here. And the kids are like, they don't know that she's a witch, but one night they look out the window and they see her flying her broom. And they're like, wow, that's insane. And so she puts this little spell on the bed knob of the bed, and they end up activating the bed, and the bed picks them
flies,
up.
Right?
The bed flies, and takes them down into this crazy cartoon world, and they cool. They have an adventure. Your typical Disney movie, but I always love that, because it's one of those the representation of the not scary witch, right? It's just that
sounds like a fun time.
It is a fun time.
I'm having fun just thinking about it.
Portobello Road, Portobello Road. Yeah, I used to love Bedknobs and Broomsticks. It was such a cool movie.
That's awesome. I'll have to rewatch that. I loved it as a kid, but I don't really remember a ton of it. I just remember the bed flying. I do remember that. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, it is super cool. So, when witches use certain ingredients and things, have those ingredients upgraded or changed throughout history, or people still using Eye of Newt and the tongue of a frog?
Well, Eye of Newt is actually juniper berries.
So it's not really an Eye of a Newt.
It's not. No. Yeah. I mean, we do use some of us. I do. So not every witch feels comfortable doing it. But some do use animal parts. I'll use snake skin in some of my oils, or just even use snake skin in different ways. So yeah, I mean, there are some animal parts if you want to,
right?
But, yeah. I have a death oil that's pretty gross. It's some graveyard dirt and dead bugs, and it's a little nasty. It's not one that you want to be putting your hands into. It's kind of let me use the dropper on this nasty thing. But it has its uses. When you want to end something, you use the death oil. So it sounds scary, but not necessarily. I mean, you could use it for other things, but it's just to end things. We'll say that.
So what is the history behind in current times? I mean, you go to Halloween parties and you see the witch. What's the history behind the broom, the hat, the cauldron, and you know what I'm saying?
Cleaning supplies.
The cleaning supplies. What's up? What's up with
broom?
that?
There is a history with the broom. It's interesting now because we think of a witch flying on her broom, and it's very cute and whatever. And I have my broom right here. You can't really see all of it. But historically, the broom was used in a very interesting manner. So there is such a thing as a flying ointment or a flying oil, and oftentimes it would have psychedelic components. And so they would use a broom and coat the end of it with the flying ointment and insert it into certain places and basically absorb it and kind of have a psychedelic reaction. So yeah, it's what you're thinking. It's what you're thinking.
That sounds like a party, dude. You like to party hard.
Do I have a broom? I do. It's right here. I don't use it for that purpose, but yes, I do have one. Mostly my cat chews on it, really.
Lynn just hangs out in her room and like trips on her broom.
Give me some of that flying ointment. It's going to be a slow night. No, but yeah, historically they did do that. And it was kind of, it was another way of, there are like cultures throughout the world that use psychedelics to have spiritual, quests or spiritual journeys or spiritual experiences. It was another form of that. It was just a very interesting way of going about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, like you hear about the Oracle of Delphi and like the gases that would come up from the cave and she would trip out.
Yeah.
And then you hear about like Moses and like the acacia bush has like
Moses
a high amount of DMT in it. Like
yeah,
you can
Moses
orally.
partied hard.
Moses partied so hard.
Dude, his name was Moses, dude.
It was like splitting water.
Hey, do you remember what it Moses? Mostly. That's Moses, dude. He mostly remembers.
Moses partying hard.
They all did back then, man. Like,
yeah, I mean, what else was there to do? You gotta
right, true.
Hey, spending time in the Middle East, did you ever hear the account that Moses was an albino child?
I didn't. No, that's interesting.
So apparently there's like this historical record that goes back like in Ethiopia. They supposedly have like the original form of the Bible like all intact. And they talk about how the reason that Moses was picked up by the Pharaoh was because he was an albino child. And and where he grew up, they were afraid that he would be outcast. And so they sent him down the river. And then like the Pharaoh found him, or his wife found him, picked him up, and was like, "Oh my goodness!" But at the time, the Egyptians had found like fair skin to be a sign of the gods, and so they picked Moses up, and they cared for Moses because they thought he was a gift by the gods.
So you're saying he was a ginger?
I don't know if he's ginger, but
he's a ginger.
He might have had like some red eyes.
Oh, did you say ginger or did you say albino?
No, I said albino.
My bad, dude.
You switched that. I mean, they're still very pale, but no.
Right,
no. Yeah.
Different color hair. Yeah. Now, that's interesting, though.
Yeah, I didn't know if you heard that in your Middle East travels.
No, I hadn't. I lived in Saudi Arabia, so I wasn't kind of in the African.
See, you were partying.
Continent. Oh yeah.
you were driving Lamborghinis and hanging out in skyscrapers,
that
right?
Was me when
chilling
I was 13,
on the beach.
I was partying hard.
That was me. You got me.
Right. In the Lamborghini with a Sheik at 13.
Yeah. Well, they just actually allowed women to start driving and to become citizens.
In Saudi Arabia, awesome.
Yeah.
Yay.
So that's a leg up for women.
So I gotta say, it was nice to have a driver drive us around everywhere too. Like,
I bet.
Now, I mean, having the ability to drive, I'm perfectly fine having someone drive me around if they want to. That's great.
Like, just call me Miss Daisy.
Right.
Let's
they
go.
had guys like they had men employed on. So we lived on an Air Force base, but they called it a compound there. And there were a bunch of different, it was a very international community. Like I went to an international school. So I went to kids from like Africa. There was a lot of Canadians because Canada Bell provided the like telephone lines in Saudi Arabia. So they imported kind of like people that could do different things from different places. And so I lived on the compound and the American compound, and they had men specifically employed to be drivers for the wives while the husbands were at work. So if you needed to go somewhere, you just call up and say, I need the driver to take me out to the store or whatever. So, hey, that's fine with me.
Who'd have thought that the Saudis invented Uber before we even knew it?
It's true, yeah.
You just call somebody up.
Free Uber, even better.
Ahead of their time.
That's a way better system if you ask me.
Yeah.
I think so, right? You don't have to deal with the driving yourself. That's awesome. Especially in Massachusetts.
Is it bad? It's
Oh,
pretty bad?
well, Massachusetts drivers are called massholes. So if that gives you an idea, of, like, yes, it's a very aggressive form of driving. But once you get it down, it works, you know. But yeah, it's a very aggressive form of driving.
I'm looking at this little thing you have on the wall back there. Are those oils of some sort or like
this right there?
Yep.
Yeah, they're essential oils.
So no like witchy oils or just like smell good
No,
essential oils?
I mean I have like witchy oils like on the altars usually where I have like the witchy oils. So that's like a snake oil. It's got some snake skin in there.
Ooh.
Cinnamon.
What is that? What is something that would be used for?
That would be used for, and that's actually like a hoodoo loa. Damballa, he's kind of like a snake god, like a demigod sort of a thing. It would just add power to whatever it is you're doing. It would enhance. We are massholes. Yes. Yes. Power to the masshole. It just would enhance like the power of a spell, or you could use it for protective energy as well. It just depends on what have you ever seen an apparition or a ghost? Yes, I have. I've grown up with like spirits around me. I can hear them. I can sense them. Every now and then I've seen them. I prefer not to see them if I don't have to.
Really?
What do you see? Do you see a dark shadowy figure or a light?
No, I see a person.
Like a full-bodied apparition?
Yeah, like a person. Yeah, like the worst one that ever happened. And I usually yell at them if they do something that like I'm not crazy about. Like the bathroom is off limits. Like don't come to me while I'm in the bathroom. That's just private time. Come on now.
Yeah. It's your time to shine.
Yeah.
Your time to shine. Don't mess with that championship.
Let me have the bathroom.
You are the champion of that Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yes. But like the worst one ever was when I was driving in my car one time and I was adjusting my rear view mirror, and you probably see where this is going. And in my rear view mirror, I see like a teenage kid sitting in my back seat. And I was like, oh, no. That is not cool. Don't do that one.
Whoa.
Yeah, that one freaked me out probably more than any of them.
I want to make a connection to just see what you say. So we had a guest on. This was a long time ago, but it was this woman. Forgive me, I don't remember her name, but her book was called "Abducted and Furious," and her whole outlook on it was like, look, you don't have to be abducted by aliens. You have power to say no, and that I thought was really compelling. And ever since then, I've like used that practice. Even when I like get like, dude, like we talk about aliens,
I
and,
have too.
Ghosts, and dude, I use it all the time, and it's so helpful because I used to be like, I turn the light off and I sprint to my bedroom, like, like, oh, and I get so creeped out. But and we had such a great combo. Like, so do you use that practice? Do you say like, hey, can't fuck with me? Like,
with ghosts I do. With aliens, I think it depends on the type of alien. Some are going to be more respectful of that than others, just from like what people have told me. I haven't ever like tried it myself because I've never had any like conscious like alien experiences. The first one that I ever had was one of those. It was like a very lucid dream, and it was so much so, I saw this like mantis being and these two little grays, and I woke up, and this was the first time I ever had anything like that happen. And I woke up and it was so vivid that I was expecting them to be standing there in my room. Like I was just looking at my doorway, like, are they coming in? Like, what just happened here? Yeah. So that's what I was just like, what?
You did this.
I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but like, you hear, like you have the other voice in your head, that like talks and stuff.
Yeah.
My scared like alter ego like voice that's in my head, it's a black lady, and I don't know why, but like because I know like I've done the whole like don't mess with me thing like at night. Like if I get this creepy feeling like in my head,
what you doing over here?
In my head, I'm like. Not tonight, like, and I can't stop it. Like, I want to just be like, no, please don't come in my room. But it always comes out like,
oh my god, I channeled you one time then, because one time I was falling asleep. This was in my old house, and there was like, I don't know what the people in I was renting it, and like, I don't know what the people in there were doing before me, but there were like crazy spirits in that place. It was just like a spirit highway. Like they would be coming through all the time. Some of them are nice, like totally fine. And I don't mind like the nice ones, like hang out, whatever. I don't care if they're like nice. But this one, I was like laying down, ready to go to sleep. You know, when you just like, you get comfy in bed, you close your eyes, you're like, the day's over. I'm really like looking forward to falling asleep. And I was just laying there all comfy and snuggly in my bed. And in my ear, there's this deep man's voice that goes, wake up. And I was like, oh, hell no. I was like, out. Like, so it's channeling your inner voice.
Yeah, you must have been. I swear, anytime I get scary, like if I go to like a haunted house or like during Halloween or like I'm scared at my home or like if something creepy happens out in the woods, it's always this black lady that comes in my head and like tells everybody to go away. And I feel like it's always because like they're the most serious and scary situations.
You're not going to mess with the black lady that's telling you to knock it off. You're like, okay, yes, ma'am.
You
yes,
don't.
Ma'am, I will.
You listen to what they say. So I think like internally, like I'm internalizing that like, yeah, these ghosts are totally gonna leave me alone. Yeah. Like, are these aliens? They're not gonna mess with that.
You know? Well, like, dude, like that. It just exudes like confidence, but also there's some humor to it. It's like,
right?
No,
Yep.
Like, I love that. I'm gonna use that. Yeah, I love that.
Somebody was asking about sleep paralysis, and they see mimics and they talk to them. Can you expand on what a mimic is?
I don't know. Yeah. What is a mimic?
What is
like
a mimic?
We have that.
Is that are they talking about like a ghost that mimics the voice of someone else?
I'm not sure.
I see mimics. So maybe they mean someone that looks like someone they know, but isn't that person?
I'm not
sure
Jack,
what I mean by that.
Jack, if you can expand on that, dude. Yeah. Tell us what a mimic is, and maybe we can kind of narrow that down.
Right. And maybe it's just a different name for something else, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
It might.
Sleep paralysis is an interesting phenomenon. I don't know what I quite think about it, because like I could see from like a neurological perspective that it could be something, but I also could see that could just be a medical way of explaining something that they can't explain. Like, oh yeah, that is sleep paralysis. You know, it's just like people are reporting this phenomenon and they're kind of like, okay, well, we got to give it a name so we can tell them something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, people always talk about also like during sleep paralysis, they'll see like the Hat Man.
Yeah,
Slenderman.
That's creepy.
Slenderman.
Have you had sleep paralysis?
Man, I don't think I've had sleep paralysis.
Oh,
like,
you know.
I think I would know if I had sleep paralysis. But yeah, no, I'm either asleep or like awake. And I hope I sang that. I'm not like putting forth this energy where
Joe's going to be like, hell no.
Not today.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
I had...
You motherfuckers need Jesus.
Yeah. I got and again, Christians, I love you. I have nothing against Christianity. I just thought this was funny because I have like this ridiculously weird sense of humor. In one of the shops in Salem, they had this little cartoony Baphomet on the shirt. Yeah. And it says, "Not today, Jesus." And I was like, yes, that's hilarious.
Yes. That is amazing.
Oh my gosh, man.
Because he's like this cute little like Baphomet. It's awesome.
I'm a little goat.
I'm a little
good man sitting here. Yeah, it just looks like he'd be in a cartoon. Yeah, yes. Hilarious.
He has like slices of onions and cheese on his arms.
Would you like it?
It's just like a party tray. Yeah. Add things onto him.
He's like a little hat with chips and salsa on the brim.
Man, how you would be the popular person at the party if you showed up with like a cheese tray that was just Baphomet.
Oh my god, that would be hilarious.
Oh yeah, they have like he's holding like a sacrificial altar, like it's just got like little cheeses and sausages on it.
They have. Oh, you guys would probably love it. So in Salem, they have the Satanic Temple, and that's not the Church of Satan. Again, words sound scary. It's not. But they have this giant Baphomet statue that they actually constructed. So they do a lot of political, like civil rights work. And so there was, I can't remember what state it was. You guys might remember because it was down south. And I think was it like Arkansas, where they wanted to erect the 10 Commandments like monument outside of the state house.
Yeah.
So the Satanic Temple was like, well, separation of church and state, what the heck is going on here? So they said, well, if you're gonna do this, we're gonna erect a monument of Baphomet right next to it. So they created this giant, like bigger than life Baphomet, and he's He's sitting there, and he's got like a little boy on one side and a little girl on one side.
Yes.
And he's sitting, and they have it at the Satanic Temple. You could sit on it, take pictures with it. Like, it's amazing. It's awesome.
That's hilarious.
I think people should just be able to do, as long as they're not hurting anybody, like just, I think it's,
As long as you don't walk through my yard.
like, do not. That is St. Augustine.
I get off my lawn.
That is early summer, late Augustine, early rain season here in Georgetown, Texas.
No way I'm gonna win yard of the month with your goddamn footprints walking through it.
So,
Yard of the month.
sleep. I just want to say sleep paralysis. I have had two experiences. One of them is vastly different, but I equate them both because I experienced both. The second one was way more intense, but the first one was insane. I woke up and could not move my body and was like float. I could hear wind like howling around my body and my face. It was so loud. It was crazy.
Wow.
And I could like feel my body like lifting off the bed, and then the next thing I knew, I was like standing at my my kitchen sink, and that was really weird. I've never slept walked before.
Whoa. Okay, so you had you remember laying there, and then all of a sudden you were standing at your kitchen sink.
Well, I was physically. I remember feeling this wind, and I've told you this story before, but I could hear it was so loud. It was like. And I could feel it, I could feel it in my hair, but I couldn't move my body. All I could do is look around. So I could see everything. It was just dark. I didn't see any lights or anything. And it was just really fucking weird. It only lasted 10 seconds. And I could just, I knew that there was some, I couldn't see it because I couldn't move my head, but I could tell that there was no pressure on my back. I was definitely felt in my head. I felt like I was being lifted. And then my next memory is it goes from that, and then I'm standing in my kitchen sink with a glass full of water, and I'm drinking that glass of water. So that's the only time that happened once. But I mean, that sleep paralysis shit is no joke. I was trying to scream in my sleep, I couldn't make a noise. It was terrifying.
Wow.
But
I think that's interesting though that you ended up in a different place.
Yeah,
and I used to do regressions on people.
Not today.
You need Jesus.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
All right.
I'm so interested in shit that I don't know about myself. It kind of bugs me a little bit.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's why I had one done on myself too.
But
I wanted to see what it was like.
Yeah, but then I'm also worried that I'm just my life is fucking boring and nothing, nothing cool is happening. Oh man, I just wasted $150 for you to tell me that nothing happened. But I also don't want you to
regression to a past life. Maybe there was something a lot more interesting.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Maybe you were a warlock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, then I can go to that guy in Massachusetts and be like, I actually was a warlock.
Right. The stone of death.
Yeah. So somebody was asking, my wife has seen things throughout her life, most recently a pinkish orb in our bedroom doorway. But in the past, she's seen full body ghosts and rainbows in the house. Is there any correlation between ghosts and rainbows, or are they if you see a misty ghost, if light were to reflect off them like a cloud, would it make a rainbow? I mean,
I suppose. I mean, it's all energy, so I suppose the pink orb type thing, I would assume it's energy, so it could be anything. It could be a spirit. Sometimes they just manifest in different ways, so I don't see why. A rainbow. I have heard of someone else who had, and it was more of an ET experience, and they saw kind of this rainbow being in there. It wasn't shaped like a human. It wasn't a humanoid shape, but it was this rainbow type object that had some sort of consciousness to it because it was moving about. But that's the only time I've ever heard of a rainbow. But
have you seen that episode of South Park where they I don't know what season it is, but they find a species of alien that's an entity that can show up to whatever they want, and he ends up being an ice cream cone that poops little pieces, little nuggets of ice cream. He's like, I can be whatever the fuck you want me to be. Whatever. It's okay, yeah. what if you were like an ice cream can? Like, it's awesome. You just made me think of that.
That's hilarious.
He
I
like
haven't
does
seen
it. Cartman's like, sweet.
That's my Westie's voice, by the way, is Cartman.
Yeah.
I give all of my animals voices, and he's Cartman.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's a taco. That's right, Caleb. Thank you.
Oh, it's taco.
It's a taco that shits ice cream. Yeah, thank you.
Of course. Why wouldn't I have known that one?
Yeah. That's why I love going live, man.
Yeah.
People are on it, dude.
They are. It's like I know. When I'm doing like my show too,
Markiplier.
I'm always like, I know I'm not going to remember this, but one of you guys will, and somebody inevitably always remembers it. It's great.
There is this old, like, torn down, like, shack that was outside of my hometown. And I remember one night we were just out. We were like, oh, let's go to a cemetery. Let's go to this thing. It's called Hoxie Bridge, where these little kids will push your car over a bridge and stuff like that in the Hutto. And like, we did all like this cool stuff. We went to this old insane asylum, and like then they were like, well, there's this old building out in town. Like nothing happened, right? But like there was like this little building out in town, and we had drove out there, and it just looked creepy. So we were like, let's just go look at it. It's creepy. We're doing creepy stuff tonight. Let's go. So we did. We went in there, and there was like still furniture inside, and like there was some of it was like covered, but it was old. It was so old, and there was a little piano in the corner. And
How little?
it was probably the size of this desk. It wasn't like a grand piano. It was like a small piano.
Okay.
It was great. It was like an old Western piano.
Oh shit.
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And we walked in there and we're looking around, and we're like, yeah, this is creepy. Like, yeah, nothing's happening. And as soon as we get ready to leave out of this little building, we hear a chair move, and it like, I don't know, like if it like when it hit the piano, like obviously the piano is gonna make some noise, but like this piano made like 3 different notes, and it was kind of creepy. It was like clink, and then clink clink,
and nobody was touching it.
And no, we were all on the way out of the door.
They're pulling their chair up to the piano, like
it was wild. That's like
if I were a ghost, I would mess with people.
Oh,
sometimes I
have
wonder.
so
I'm
much
like,
fun.
that's what they're doing. Like, come on. The ghost is like, I'm gonna scoot this chair up, up against this. And
I've been saving up my afterlife credits for months. And these people are idiots, and I cannot wait to scare them.
They want a scare, I'll give them a scare.
Like I imagine it's like a point system where like the people that don't believe, like that's worth double. So like you get half of your credits back. Like people that are like, this is stupid, and you're like, oh shit. Give me them tokens.
Oh my god!
Oh shit!
I'm coming to find you guys in the afterlife because that will be fun.
We're gonna party.
Amazing.
We always heard. We heard this story. There was a guy that was talking about he had abductions and things like that, and screen memories. And me and Ben always cracked up, like even though like it's not a funny situation, like this particular story was pretty wild, and like. We always talked about how, like, if we were like an alien or ghost, like how we would just totally mess with people.
Yeah.
And he was talking about screen memories and how, like, sometimes when you see these entities, they show up as something different. You view them as like an owl or a deer.
Yeah.
This guy had a burrito rolling on his floor. Yeah, I swear. And like, he was like, there was a burrito on my floor, and I don't know. Like,
and he also thought it was funny. Like,
he thought it was funny too.
I mean, how could you not? That would be a dangerous thing for an alien to look like in my room. I'd be like, yes,
I'm coming to get you. Like, you wouldn't even be scared of it. Like, you're chasing a burrito down the hallway.
How do you know? It's exactly what I was hungry for. Just amazing.
These dead, glassy shark eyes. Like,
the alien's like, God damn it!
No.
He was like the new guy.
With a taquito.
Yeah, he was like the new guy on the job, and like his alien buddies were like, "Oh, humans are terrified of burritos. You should be a burrito." It just showed up as a burrito one day, like, ooh.
That's amazing. I love that they knew what a burrito was. And
I know, it's so crazy.
awesome.
You know, you
That's
always hear like
hilarious though.
you hear these accounts of like the mantid beings like having this like sense of humor, and like people have like, you know, seen them like show up and like they're wearing wigs or like little hats.
It's hilarious.
Like
I
somebody,
didn't have that, but that's awesome.
Somebody had like an account of like this mantid, and it had like these fake lips on, like,
Oh my God.
and we just thought it was hilarious that like it still looks like a mantid, but it's just got a curly blonde wig on, like, or a top hat, or like these fake lips, and you're like, what are you doing?
Did it have the lips and the curly blonde wig? Kind of look, go for the whole prostitute look.
So the whole thing was like, yeah, one had a top hat on, and the other one had a wig and these lips on. So yeah, it was together, and it was
That's
just
awesome.
like, yeah, that's like it's almost be more creepy. Like,
no, to me, I would be like, okay, we need to talk. Explain. I'm digging this. Explain.
I'd rather you just show up as a mantid. Then I could like process, but then you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Did you guys ever see that show People of Earth?
Yes.
So that's what it reminds me of. Like something like that would have happened on that show. That's hilarious.
Yes. Oh,
that
God.
show, though, was, I swear to God, it was modeled on an experience or support group that I know the person who ran it.
Well,
because their lead person was just like her. It was amazing. I even told her, I was like, have you seen this? And she's like, yeah, it's a little familiar.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Dude, that's hilarious. Like when he's drinking that daiquiri or like that margarita, and he gets a brain freeze for the first time. And she's like, are you okay? And he's like, oh, okay, I'm good. And he like drinks it. It's such a good
and there was like that one, the alien that was like the guy with the white hair, and everybody was just like, okay, whatever, Todd or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
You know? There's like
the Nordic.
He was the one that was getting laid all the time. It was hilarious.
It was like everybody in their vision. He was like this masculine dude, but he was actually like scrawny dude, like me, like just like skeleton.
Well, he had that kind of like Legolas thing going for him, Like,
yeah.
So the women were like, hello. Okay.
Oh man.
So I mean, as we're on the topic of aliens, I know I want to ask you what we were talking about on Facebook. Yes. How are we doing on time, and do we need to take a break or okay?
No, I'm good.
Sweet. Because I as we're on the topic of aliens, I mean, I've got to ask you. I mean, with your experience with the Free organization, we had talked about a couple of things. Can you kind of go into a little bit what you can share and what you can't with your experience with that we were talking about?
Like as far as experiences that I've heard about go?
Yeah. So you said you would talk to some individuals about super soldiers.
Yes, I had I think 2. And then after that, I was like, no more super soldiers. Like they're very intense, very intense.
That seems to be a common theme with people who get into the super soldier thing, where they get into it for a little bit and they're like, I have to step away from this.
Yeah, it's a lot. And they and I feel for them, because it's like once you start talking to them and you listen, and I mean, talking to me, it was literally, you're getting like free therapy, really, because I was just, okay, and like, tell me a little more about this, and how did you feel about that, and using my therapy skills, and so I feel for them, because they're finally like, oh, finally someone who's going to listen to me. But it's very intense energy, and it's kind of like in your face, and like, I'm going to tell you about what happened to this, and you're never going to, and it's just like all the time. And so, I had to I was just kind of like, oh, whoa, okay. I want nothing to do with super soldiers and the secret space program.
Right.
I didn't really talk to anybody who dealt with the secret space program, but for whatever reason, I was just like, I want nothing to do with that.
So what was your journey in understanding what the secret space program was? Like, how did those two connect? Because I know
at that point in time, and you kind of know there's more to the story, but at that point in time, I had no desire to look into the secret space program, which is weird, because I delved into everything, because I was like, well, in case somebody talks to me about this, I need to know what they're talking about. But the secret space program is the one thing I wanted nothing to do with. So I knew very little about it, other than, supposedly there was this secret space program that was developed and is way more advanced than NASA. That was kind of the extent of what I knew at that point in time.
Right. And so this was based off of testimony of multiple individuals that you talk to, right? Like,
as far as that goes, I mean, I'd heard Richard Dolan talk a little bit about it. And so that was kind of like I mean, I wasn't really all that interested in a lot of his talks, but he's around everywhere. So you hear things, you hear him a little bit. So
we want to party with Richie real hard.
Oh my gosh.
Richie.
Richard Dolan is a very stand-up a member of the community. Richie, dude.
Richie parties hard.
Yes. Have you like talked to him at conferences and stuff?
No.
Well, we saw him at the desk, and there was just like a line of people, and he was like, "Hi, everybody."
He's just like the nicest dude. Like, good vibes.
Like me to sign your book? Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Ben, do you have your phone nearby?
Yeah, I got it right here.
Oh, hold on a second.
Yeah. So are you sending me?
I sent you something, but
okay.
I can't say out loud, but I want you to know.
Secret
news. It's a secret.
What?
No, I would never do that. That's frightening. Come on now.
Oh yeah.
It's all you party.
I got it. I read it.
Yeah. Yes. It's true. True story.
I didn't see it.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
But I didn't know really a lot about the secret space program until recently. And that's why it's such a fascinating topic, because it can include a lot of different pieces.
Yes.
And a lot of the theories, right? Like emphasis on the theories, because let's be honest,
there's a lot of fuckery.
None of us know what happened.
Right. And it's a lot. It's a lot to process. Like, oh, did that really it? It's one of those that I found really hard to swallow, which maybe was why I was kind of like, I don't really want to look into this.
Yeah. It's tough because it includes history.
Yes.
In a very real way, and a very scary way. Which,
for sure.
Totally makes sense. The Nazis, man.
I know. So, okay. So I told you a tidbit about this, but so when I finally had my regression done, I didn't know. I honestly kind of thought maybe it would have something to do with the Manson being that I'd seen, and it was all secret space program stuff. And I came out of that regression no, the one thing I wanted nothing to do with, my entire regression was all secret space program. And this is before I looked into it. So I had no idea about a lot of it, other than that very general, it's an advanced program that, is developed behind the scenes. I didn't know anything about the Nazi connection. I didn't know, I didn't know anything about it. Yeah. And I was just kind of no.
That's crazy.
It really was.
We've heard some stuff. Did you ever come across this claim while talking to some of these people? We have a friend who dealt with some of these people, these super soldier people, and they had talked about how when they would come back, or whenever they would be, at this point in time, at first they had a craving for raw liver.
Ooh.
Yeah, there was a bunch of them who had a craving for raw liver, and they were like, we don't know if it has something to do with them, separating themselves from their bodies and going to this, doing whatever it is that they're doing intergalactically or whatever, and then coming back and a loss of iron. It was an iron deficiency in their bodies.
Yeah, it could be,
and so they had this craving for raw liver all the time, and it would last for a few months. And then eventually they would get over it. But I don't know. Have you ever heard anything like that? I
don't think so, but it certainly makes sense. I mean, the concept behind the super soldiers is that they were genetically bioengineered to become super soldiers capable of doing things that the rest of us can't. And so if you're messing with someone's body and their genetics, I would imagine that might have some weird side effects, weird consequences. So
or
it's very possible.
If you are a super soldier, but your body is still present here, but you somehow split and go somewhere else. Can you imagine if you have massive amount of blood loss, out in this other area or something, and then you come back to your body would feel holy shit. I need some blood, some iron in my body, your soul or your spirit or your mind, wherever it went, comes back, and it still holds that feeling, that memory of where you were. The idea that you have some people who are like a physical super soldier, but then there's also these mental super soldiers, and they're like literally going somewhere and fighting these intergalactic wars.
That's crazy.
Like,
so I haven't heard that one. I've talked to the physical super soldiers.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It makes sense though. You know,
one of the things that intertwines with the super soldier story, and it intertwines in a way that it has to do with the technology of med beds. Have you heard of med beds?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't know much, but what I do know is that I don't know the science behind it, but it can take a person
plug and
you gotta plug it in. There's all kinds of like goo and like ooze. Like everybody's having a good time.
Yeah,
but like the med beds thing, it coincides with this story, right? Like again, there's so many parts to the super soldier is just such a broad thing.
Yeah.
But this med bed thing is particularly interesting because there's a company out of oh my gosh, I'm gonna ruin this, but like I don't know where the company's from, but I saw a commercial. I will post it to our Facebook or
Silicon
Twitter.
Valley, dude.
Yeah, dude. It's like a different country, and the guy is basically creating a med bed. And what a med bed is it basically rejuvenates your cells and reverses aging. So you could walk into this med bed and return your cellular structure of your body right down to the mole on your thumb to a certain age. I think right now what's in the sphere of this conversation is that they can return anybody back to around 30 years old. Interesting that Jesus himself was 33.
Dying the Christianity back in. Comes back around.
Yeah, it's wild. Lynn, I have a quick off-topic question for you.
Yeah.
Did you untie my shoe with witchcraft?
I did. Oh, did it work? Perfect. Beautiful.
Totally untied. I've been here the whole time. Both my shoes were tied. We talked to a witch, and now my shoes untied. Was this some kind of game? You're trying to tie them together with your witchcraft?
Are you skylarking right now? Are you making
Yeah. As I'm sitting here, I'm just somewhere else.
Oh my god!
I'm under the table untying your shoe.
So when did this switch from like? Well, I guess which came first? I mean, were you more of a witchy lady and then got into the UFO thing?
Yeah, I got into witchcraft in my 20s. So yes, I'm in my 40s now. And then I got into liar. I am. Yes, my oldest daughter's graduating from high school. It's crazy.
What?
I know. It's
my
insane.
oldest daughter pooped her pants like 10 minutes ago.
She's also 18.
Yeah, I was gonna say also graduating from high school. But then the UFO stuff happened. Like it all started when I had that weird dream with the mantis being, and that was in my mid 30s. So I had been involved with the witchcraft stuff for like 15 years before that.
So having experiences with this mantis, because I would love for you to describe the mantis, but I mean, it's just, I don't know, but has it broadened your understanding of, I mean, the best word for it right now is like the phenomenon, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
It's just an easy word. We know what we're talking about when we say phenomenon. So like, in what ways did it open up your spectrum?
I wasn't involved with any of it at all before that, And so what was really weird, the thing that really got me to think like maybe this wasn't just a weird dream was, so I had this picture of, like I said, it was like this mantis being, and it was like it was from the perspective of me kind of laying on, like one of those like very stereotypical like examination tables, in a UFO. So I was laying down and I saw these two little grays peeking up over the table. So they were kind of like this, looking at me. And then the mantis being was behind them, but he was wearing this long kind of like burgundy robe type thing. And it had this like gold V kind of at the top, and I had this image in my mind for like days and I couldn't get out of my head. And so I was just playing like, okay, I need to draw this, which I'm not an artist. So I don't know why I felt the need to like, I'm going to draw this, but it was just like, I felt compelled to do it. Like I had to keep a record of what it was that I saw for some reason. So I was like, okay, fine. Maybe if I just draw this, it'll get out of my head, And I was drawing it and I hear like in my voice, like, no, that's not right when I was drawing the robe. And like because there were several lines and I didn't have it quite right. And so I was just kind of like, okay. And I remembered again, oh, that's what it looked like. And so I redrew it. And then probably months later, after I had already started working with Free, I was talking to this one woman and I was telling her about this dream that I had. And we were chatting and she was like kind of helping me out. She worked for MUFON, but she was also like sort of helping me out with some of the like experiencers. And she knew someone that also had an encounter with a mantis being. And so I was just like, yeah, it was so strange. It was wearing this outfit. And she was like, was it a burgundy robe? And I was like, get out of town. Like,
No
stop.
way.
Seriously.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it was just kind of like, that was the thing that connected it. And I was like, oh, maybe that's why I had to get it just right. Cause I was describing it. She's like, yes, that's exactly what he said he saw too. So I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy talk.
I have a question. So, I mean, that's so specific and I love that.
Yeah.
I love asking like details because the fact that you had like the compelling moment to draw it is huge because you said yourself, you don't normally draw. So the fact that you even had the confidence to even try to do that says something, but also you said that maybe you had heard something in your head or had an idea, maybe not what was it an auditory thing or was it just like,
it was kind of like, it was in my head, but I knew that it wasn't my voice. It was similar to like when I hear a ghost talk in my head, it's like, it's just in my head, but I know it's not me saying it because it's just like a weird piece of information that I wouldn't have known, And so like when I was drawing it, I'm like just drawing it out thinking like, okay, this is what, and it was just kind of like, no, that's not right. Do it again. And I was kind of like, okay, well, I'm getting very bossy with myself, What the heck?
okay, shit. Like I'm trying, dude.
Yeah.
You think I'm Bob Ross?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Happy little robe. Happy little robe. So I just like, I knew I had to get the robe just right. And then of course that came into play later on when I was describing this robe. She was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what he described too.
So did it have some sort of lapel at all?
It did not. It was kind of like, it came to a V, but it was like a very high kind of V, but then it had like a thick gold V. And then it had like, that went like around the neckline, I guess you could call it. And then it had like a thinner gold line on top of that V. And then like another thinner line underneath the thick band. Wow. So it was like 3 gold kind of V's, but the middle one was thick.
So it maybe, could it be, I don't know. I'm just like visualizing it. Like it,
yeah.
You see like sashes. I'm sorry if I'm like prying too hard, but
was
it silk?
Or was it an extra large?
It was a cotton rayon blend.
Was he wearing a medium? Was it like obviously too small, but he was still trying to rock it?
There's a reason why I'm asking.
This V-neck was a deep V.
It was an American Apparel
right.
cotton tri blend. Very expensive, but worth it because we want our customers to feel good.
That's where we got it.
Feels like lotion. Feels like lotion. Yeah. That's why by the way, you can go to UFO Garage Podcast and pay $40 for a shirt.
Right, there you go.
Or come on the show and get one for free.
Or go, yeah. Made of an alien made silk. Yeah. But so there's a reason why I'm asking, but I feel like the sashes that you see often in like religions, right? Like with the Catholic tradition, and then you again. Yeah. I mean, I'm just like fresh off of learning a little bit more about like the Heaven's Gate and the way that they utilize sashes. It just seems to be a motif that's repetitive. So I'm wondering if like this was an idea that someone got through an experience, or is this just something that humans made up? Because like
I don't know.
Everybody likes a little bit of soft cloth around the neck.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it wasn't a sash so much per se. It was more like Star Trek-y looking than it would be religious looking. But I mean, like something one of the aliens on Star Trek would have worn. Like that's kind of what it reminded me of.
Like Mork from Mork and Mindy.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The rainbow suspenders. He had those on under the burgundy robe.
Good memory.
He gave me a little peekaboo. He did
not impressed.
Disproportionate. Okay.
Oh my gosh. What color was the mantid?
He was like light green color, but his eyes were like kind of like a silvery iridescence.
Cool.
We had somebody who had said that they had seen a being in the eyes, like the description of the eyes were like really cool. Like it was, he was like they were kind of reflective, like
like prismatic almost.
Yeah, like
yeah.
It was almost like like the chameleon paint, like on a car or something, where like when it drives by, it changes like gold, purple, blue.
Yeah,
green,
it was like that.
And just depending on how it would move, it would have like this reflective property to it. Like the eyes are always an interesting aspect to all of these things. Like very interesting. Very interesting.
It was.
Oh man. So is that it, like, is there like you said something earlier about there being two gray beings? Was that the same encounter, or was that like a dream that you had? Because
that was the same, and it was. I remember it as a dream. I don't know. Like I said, when I did my regression, I figured this would come up, and it didn't come up at all. So I still like remember it as a dream, but it was very, very vivid. Like that was the one that I woke up expecting them to be there. But my experience with the grays is different. I have talked to a couple of people who have had a similar experience, and I know that there are different types of grays. Different people have had encounters with different grays. But the two little grays that I saw were actually like almost childlike in their behavior. Like they were just very curious. They weren't scary at all. It was almost like two little kids peeking up on the table, like, what's going on? Like that was kind of the feeling that I got from them. So they weren't, none of it was frightening. It was just unnerving waking up like, oh, what did I just see? Because I'd never had any experience before. So it was just kind of like, well, that's different.
Yeah.
That's not a ghost. That's different.
Wow.
And the fact that you vividly only remember it once is interesting, because I mean, I'm just being selfish here, but like I've had also, we were talking about the sleep paralysis, like that really only happened once. So I kind of rule it out as like, I'm fine. I'm good. It just happened the one time.
Should.
But shit, I've never been regressed. So and I'm scared too.
It's okay.
If we do, we'll probably do it live on the podcast.
Okay, I'll do it. Well, I'll be gentle.
That would be okay. So I didn't know that you did regressions. Okay,
I do. I don't do them anymore. I used to do them. But I can. I mean, I can certainly still do one.
I've always had this thought, right? Because regression, I've seen like videos and documentaries and stuff like that, and I'll always get a little worried because when I was in high school, we had this hypnotist come, and he brought like 5 people on the stage, and I felt like a total idiot because I sat up there and like, dude, he had people clucking like chickens and doing wild stuff. And like, he was like, all right, if you're in the trance, you will sleep. And like, he snaps his fingers, and like, people were just like, boom.
Like,
And like, I didn't want to like
disappoint him.
I don't want to like disappoint him. So like, I kind of like am like seeing this out of the corner of my eye.
Were you faking
like,
it? You're like, oh.
Yeah, I kind of like put my head down, and then finally, like we got like halfway through it, and he was like, "If anybody's still awake, raise your hand." And I was like, "God damn it!" And I just raised my hand because I was like, I was so bummed. I wanted to cluck like a chicken, like for whatever that's worth, right? But like, I was so bummed that I was the only person that didn't work on.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's weird because like, even like, dabbled in some stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? Like somebody takes a hit of like
Joe Party,
like LSD in my younger years, right? Like even some people are so sensitive. They're like, "Oh, I smoked some weed and I saw God," and it's like, I don't know, dude. Like, but like, who am I to judge your personal experience? These people like took like one hit of acid and they were just like, "Oh, I went to this other place," and it's like, dude, all we did was listen to the Grateful Dead for 7 hours, and like that's all we did. And like, I just feel like the placebo effect never like really worked on me that much. I don't know. Like, I've always been worried about like, because I want to have a regression. Like, I want to do that. Like, I don't know. Like, what? Like, is it just me? Like, can some people just not be regressed? Can some people not be put in that state?
some people have a harder time with it for sure, but I think we could get you to that point where, so it's a very different type of hypnotic state. It's actually just a light trance. So you're very aware the whole time,
Right.
but it just puts you in, think of it as in like a deeper state of relaxation where your mind is kind of more open and you just kind of go with the flow, but you're always very conscious. That's one thing that a lot of people are very surprised by when they get regressed, is how conscious they are of the whole thing. And they kind of are like, am I like, is this working? And you can tell, like, I can tell like by looking at them, their body, they're like this, but they're still mentally like very conscious of what's going on. So it's not the same as kind of like, that like stage hypnosis. So I think you'd be fine, especially if you want to. It's usually the people that are scared of it that have a harder time being regressed because they're just like consciously fighting it in their head, because they're like worried about it. But
or like, this isn't going to work on me, or
some people are just like, but actually those people, sometimes they're the easiest to regress. It just depends. But the people that are scared have a harder time because you have to relax. It's all about just being able to relax and kind of letting yourself let go of your kind of like rational judgments. That's the hardest thing people have is they see something or something comes to their mind and they're like, wait, that doesn't, I'm like, just tell me what you're seeing or feeling, like, don't judge it in the moment. We can always look back at it later, but just tell me what's coming through to you.
Right.
Yeah.
I see that being a problem because anytime I try to answer a question, I come up with 10 different questions and I try to answer all those and then like circle back to the initial question.
Oh, but you're in too much of a relaxed state to get to that point.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, it's like, imagine like smoking really good weed. Like you're very aware of what's going on, but you're just like super relaxed. That's what it's like.
Relaxing is one of my favorite things to do.
See, you'd be great. We could easily do a regression on you then.
Yeah. But man, I remember that, man. Senior year, just graduated. They had a hypnotist come and God damn it, dude. He didn't.
All you wanted to do was cluck like a chicken. And
that's all I wanted to do.
You could do it now.
Cluck like a chicken, man.
You could do it, bud.
You be you.
You could do it.
Come on, live your best life, Joe. Let's hear it.
I'm not good at doing things that people tell me to do, and like I feel like that was an issue. It's like
there you go.
Right. He's like, you're gonna be very relaxed, and I'm like, don't tell me what to do, god damn it! Like, I will not relax. Yeah. Like, you will. You
were just a rebellious teenager at that point.
I guess so. I'm the same way now, though. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
But it's I mean, like I said, like weird stuff comes up and sometimes it's not at all. Like for me, like that was not at all what I expected to see. And it was very vivid. And I still have a hard time processing it because I'm kind of like, that's very out there, but it feels very much like memories to me, at this point, like having like done the regression, but it's nothing that I even knew about. So, and the psychologist who did the regression on me, he was very good. He was not suggestive. Like because I went back and like listened to it and he did a beautiful job. It wasn't like he was putting things in my head, and leading me down any certain path.
Yeah.
And it's trippy sometimes. Like I'm kind of like, I was even like talking to my boyfriend about it. I was like the other day and I was just kind of like telling him everything that I saw. And it's a lot of detail, and I was like, it's so weird. But I remember like seeing the moon right outside of the window, like right there, and I was just kind of like, it's so bizarre. That's after like I had that regression for, I'd say like a good year or two, I had this like homesickness feeling of being out in space, like wanting to be out in space. Like it was very strange. Like, this is why I had like a hard time coming to terms with it. Like I still do. It's so strange.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah, it's really weird.
So like, I imagine this must be a very strange feeling for you, like, because you're longing for a safe environment, I guess, in a way that you physically can't remember experiencing. So it's like, oh man, it's like this. That's super interesting. Who's to say you haven't at some point or another?
Well, that's the thing. It's just like I can't 100%. I'm always that person that's kind of like, well, I can't say that didn't happen to me or to you or to whoever, like, because how do I know for sure like, whether or not it happened? And so I have that same response to myself, which is like, I can't say 100% that it didn't happen. And I certainly like some of the things that I said, I then saw later on in other people talking about the secret space program and like specific words that I used. Like I talked about being able to interface with the aliens. That was part of my role, which is basically kind of like that telepathic communication. But I specifically said the word interface. And I told the doctor that was doing it, I was like, that's what we called it, interfacing. But all it is telepathic communication. And then I saw someone else saying they were used, like part of their role was to interface with the other beings. And I was kind of like, wait, that's weird. That's and it's like those little moments that I'm kind of like, what? And then I saw this like shuttlecraft. And after I came out of the regression, I wrote a lot of notes and I drew like pictures. And so I drew this specific shuttlecraft that I remember seeing that took me up from Earth to the ship. And it was on, have you ever watched, what's it called? Cosmic Disclosure. It's like Corey Good, and he talked about this one like shuttlecraft, and it was like a black kind of triangular craft. And it had like, it was first like maybe 4 to 6 people. And that's exactly what I said too. Like it looked exactly like the illustration that they had created. Because you know how they do like the graphic illustrations to show what he's talking about? Yeah. It looked exactly like it. And I was just kind of like, what is going on? It's crazy. Dang. It's crazy.
Yeah, see, that's so
it gets even weirder if you want to hear more.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do want to figure out what this beeping is in the background.
In mine?
No, I was thinking it was yours, but it's mine. Let me go. Okay. Dude, I gotta. Are you not hearing the beeping? It's like a beep. All right,
it's my witchcraft again. I'm messing with your shoes. I'm messing with his head.
Seriously, this dude's got ears like a fucking deer. He hears everything, and I don't know. And it's weird because like I'll have my headphones on, and he'll talk to me from the other side of the room, and I can't hear anything. Like it's terrible. It's terrible. I was the only one in the band that never wore earplugs. So
gosh.
I don't hear anything. It's crazy. Like I can sit in a room full of like literally like a couple months ago, there was a birthday party at my sister-in-law's house, and there was like 12 people in there. And I literally just sat on the couch and I passed out, and everybody's like yelling and partying and stuff. Like I tune stuff out so easy, it's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. That's a gift. That is a gift.
Confirmed. My wife.
I'd like to.
Yeah,
my wife did hear the beeping. We don't know where it's coming from, so I apologize.
That's okay. I can't hear it through here, so hopefully
you guys can hear it. All right, good. Yeah, I have really sensitive hearing. Okay. Oh my gosh, I like the most intense part. Sorry. And now a commercial break. So okay.
You like t-shirts?
Yeah. We got the ones for you.
Everybody likes some silk on their neck. Okay, so you said it's gonna get even crazier and more intense than this shuttlecraft being the same thing that has been depicted in Cosmic Disclosure. Now that's a very controversial.
Very controversial, yes.
And we try to stay away from his story because I talked about it. I just loved the story so much. And when we first started this podcast, and then new information came out, and we try not to really mention it because it's like we don't really want to. Hey, it's fine. No, because it's like because now it's your story that you also experienced something very.
The stories are like, I mean, yeah, you can't go wrong with the stories. It's more so like the person telling it. I guess that's the issue, right? That's the big thing. But fun fact, I don't know if you knew this, but the secret space program uniform, they have slinkies on their hats.
Slinkies on their ass?
On their hats.
Oh, on their hats. Well, the ass would be better.
How did you say that? Yes, I agree.
They all go around with slinky tails.
You gotta hear that screaming. Oh my God.
Yes. That's hilarious. I want to hear the
I hadn't heard that.
More.
So the secret space program, their uniform, it's what you would expect out of a military garb, but the thing that separates the different levels is the length of the slinky that is attached, that is affixed to the top of the hat. So, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So as you get higher up, the slinky gets smaller?
No, it gets larger.
Oh, it gets
longer.
You can smack people around with it.
Corporal.
Just throwing it for effect.
Yes. Yes.
Sir, yes. everybody gets tangled. There's like a bunch of them.
We always
Like, oh, damn it. Oh, you're trying to get it untangled.
we always talked about like an auditorium full of soldiers with slinkies on their heads. And you spend most of the day like
Getting it untangled.
trying to
So you
untangle it.
cannot
with your-
untangle those things once they get tangled up. It's just like,
They're the best slinkies. They're the best
oh my
hats.
God. Can you imagine? That would be ridiculous.
Oh.
It's hilarious. No, I did not see slinky hats. I will say that.
Okay, well then that debunks our
That
theory.
debugs, yeah.
But I like it. I like it. Maybe that was a different ship.
Sometimes
It's
you
a
got to shoot
different
for the
branch.
stars. You know, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. Yeah, that's the way
Could
it
have been a
goes.
different branch. You never know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
the super
No one knows.
slinky program is what we
Yes.
were thinking about.
Yes,
dude.
the super slinky program. I love it. That's awesome. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so we keep sidetracking from the
It's okay.
from the more intense part of the story. Why do we keep doing that? I want to hear it. Ready, go.
Okay. So so I was in the regression. I was it happened in a couple of phases. Like the very first time I went up and saw the ship, I was younger, and these like beings came to my house, and I remember my stepmom was there and my brother was there, and they came in, and I was just kind of like, because they were wearing, it almost looked like these black, almost like you would imagine like a motorcycle suit, you know, just like all black, and they had these dark helmets, like, and the glass was all blacked out, like you would like, you know, you've seen those like very like ninja looking motorcycle outfits, like
Yeah.
to see who I am. It was one of those. And so there were these like two guys that walked in, like very tall. And I was just kind of like, and nobody seemed to notice them but me. And they were like, you know, come with us. We got to take you somewhere. And I was just kind of like, okay. And I was probably like 7 or 8, I think, at this point. I can't remember exactly. And that's where I saw the shuttlecraft, and it took me up to this bigger craft. And it was so strange looking because it was like rectangular in shape, almost like the way I described it was like a skyscraper on its side. That's how it looked. Like it was just very long and rectangular. But yeah, it was like not how you would imagine a spacecraft to look at all.
Yeah.
And I remember going in, and there was kind of like I don't know, like I have very weird ways of like describing it, but it reminded me of, you know, when you go in a mall and you have the bottom floor, but you can look up and see like the other levels.
Oh yeah.
yes.
So like the center of the ship was like that. There was this area in the center, and there was kind of this like it was almost like a not a park, but it had like these plants and this like pond. It was like a place to go, I guess, to kind of like chill out and relax. And then you could see the other levels on either side of you. And I remember walking on those levels too, and it was like a metal grate. And I was kind of looking at some of the like rooms as I went by, and there was one that looked like it might have been, you know, like a doctor's clinic or something like that. And there was another one that had these weird things and weird like jars and, you know, liquid and all kinds of weird things that you would think you would see. And then I went to this classroom, and there were all these kids, and they were sort of like playing or practicing with these, they look like balls of plasma almost, like with their hands somehow.
Yeah.
And so this one kid, he was like, hey, come in and try this. And he's like, he showed me how to do it. He's like, you hold it. You weren't touching it, but it was like in between your hands. And he was like, just, you know, go in and out, and you can make the ball get larger or smaller. And so I was like, okay. So I tried it, and I was kind of after a while, I was able to like make the ball kind of grow and make it. And it's sort of like witchcraft, I guess, like using your intention and like connecting with the energy. And so then they were like, okay, you know, very good. These same two guys in the black uniforms were still with me. And they were just like, okay, we've got to take you somewhere else. And so they took me down like a couple different like twists and turns. And there were all of these like, I think they were offices. I don't know. The doors were closed, so you couldn't see inside of them. But they took me to this one, and this is where it gets really crazy. I open it up, and they were like, go ahead, go on in. So I go in there, and my dad's in there, which is very strange. My dad when he retired, he was a colonel in the Air Force. And so my dad was in there, and I was kind of like, what? Like, what is happening here? And he was just like, he had this desk, you know, he was sitting at his desk, and he was just like, how did you like I can't remember what he called the plasma ball thing. He's like, how did you like that? Did you have fun? And I was like, yeah, it was really cool, but what are you doing here? Like, what is this? You know, like, and he was just like, let me show you something. And he pushed this like button on his desk, and the whole wall behind him like changed into like glass, like a window, and that's where I could see the moon. So we were like hovering right above the moon, and I was just kind of like, what? That's awesome. Like it was so crazy. Like it was so detailed. Like I was literally looking at the moon, right? And so I was like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. And he was like, okay, I just wanted you to see all of this. It's time for you to go home. They'll take you back. And so the same two guys that were with me the whole time, like, you know, kind of took me back. And I remember when I came back, I said to my stepmom and my brother, I was like, didn't you guys see this? Like, did you even realize I was gone? Because they were still just doing whatever and like paid no attention, acted like nothing had happened. They were like, no, we don't know what you're talking about. It's like, okay, that's very strange. Wow. And then
do you think it was actually your dad, or do you think maybe that was a screen?
No, it was definitely my dad, because then I had later on, we kind of skipped ahead in time. And the way that the psychologist did it, it was really interesting. It was kind of like he had you almost like go into an elevator, and then you open up the elevator at a different time. And he'd be like, now tell me how old you are. And I was like, well, I'm 24. And so I was on the ship as a crew member. And that was where I talked about interfacing with the aliens. And then I also had my kind of department was working with the like alien animals. So we would get specimens and bring them in, and I would be the one to take care of them. And then there were kids on the ship, and sometimes the kids would come in and I would show them these animals and teach them about them and just care for the animals. Cause I've always loved animals, always. And always wanted to be a vet when I was a little kid. And so that totally made sense to me that I would be doing, you know, a job like that. But my main job really was interfacing with the beings when we went to a new place to like talk to them and get to know them and kind of like act as a translator, really. But my dad was on the ship again. And I remember him saying, nobody knows you're my daughter, and it's better that way. So if I act like I don't really know you, that's why, because I don't want them to know that you're my daughter. And I was just kind of like, okay, a little weird, but he's like, it could be dangerous if they know you're my daughter. And I was like, okay, well, all right, that's weird. And that's pretty much all I really remember from that part of it. But then later I was talking to my friend, the same one who ran that support group that I said reminded me of People of Earth.
Yeah.
And I was like describing this ship, and I was like, it was so bizarre. And she goes, it was rectangular, right? And I was like, yes. And she's like, and then she described the inside the same way, like I was like, where I was talking about how you could see the different levels from the bottom of it. And like she was describe, and I wasn't telling her any of these things. I hadn't told her anything. I just said I had this, like, I was like, oh my God, like it was all secret space program. Why? And then we were talking more. And so when I first went to college, I started out as a zoology major because I wanted to go to vet school. And the school that I went to in Ohio, they didn't have like a pre-vet program. So you either went microbiology or zoology. So I went zoology. And I was always an honor student. Like throughout high school, I never had an issue with school. Was never difficult for me. But when I first went to school, like the very first week, I somehow got mono, which I don't know how I got, because one, I didn't kiss anybody, and two, I didn't drink after anybody. But somehow I got mono, and I totally like failed my first semester. And because I was sleeping during most of it. And then we met with these like people, representatives from different vet schools, and they were like, you're just going to need to change your major because there's no way you're getting into vet school. Like there were only 11 of them at the time in the country, and it's super competitive. And he was like, you've already like ruined, like you're never going to be able to get into vet school. You might want to find something else. And so I was like, oh, damn it. And so I was telling her, like, because we were talking, because she was like, you know, one of the things about the secret space program is they kind of like, when you're done, they program you to not go into anything that would maybe trigger some of these memories. And so that's when I started telling her about like, well, you know, it was really weird that I got mono in school when I was a zoology major. What? And then I had to like switch majors. She was like, well, that's not really all that weird if you think about it. And I was kind of like, it's a little weird for sure. Like it's strange. I know, it's crazy.
Holy shit. Do you think maybe they were guiding you in a way to say, look, like, was this decision, let's just say that it was a guided decision to not have you be a college grad in zoology.
Right.
Like, do you think that they were like, we covet that strength of yours, so we want that side of you, so you on in the Matrix do something else?
Well, I think at that point, so you know how they talk about like the age regression, and in my regression, my hypnotic regression, I did remember like just a very vague memory of like being taken when I was like 18 and then being brought back after 20 years when I was 18, or however many years it was. I think it was approximately like 10 to 20 years or whatever. So there must have been that age regression type thing that you've heard about, which I have a hard time like processing and thinking that could be true. But so what my friend had said was that, you know, what they do is when they're doing that like age regression, they also kind of program you to steer clear of anything that might trigger the memories. And so if I worked with animals on the ship, like, and then going and being a vet, that might trigger those memories to come back.
Okay, you said that. It didn't click. So what's interesting that I feel like it needs to be said is that a lot of these intricacies and stories, the gentleman that we mentioned earlier with that specific TV program that was very good, but like, oh man, what happened?
Story.
But like, what happened is that he took a lot of different pieces from a lot of other people's real ass stories.
Yeah,
and that's what sucks.
Yeah.
Is that it now? Anybody that mentions that it's almost like it was a psyop in some way. I'm starting to realize the best way to get people to stop talking about something is to make it look ridiculous and shun anybody that talks about it. I mean, if that's what they did, they succeeded, because like we don't even touch that now. But it's like my favorite shit to talk about. Like,
I know,
I
me
wish
too.
we could
Now
talk
I
about it.
want to know more because I don't remember a lot. I mean, that's pretty much all I remember. But they've, like I said, they feel like very real memories. So for me, it's difficult because I have that conflict within me. Like, this, like, really? Like, could that possibly have happened? But this still feels like a very real memory. And I didn't know about any of it. I hadn't watched that show before I had the regression. Like, I was only after I had the regression that was like, okay, this is all kind of really bizarre. Let me look into this more. And that's when I started like researching the secret space program. Yeah. And that, it was just like, it was very trippy because I was just kind of like, what?
It's
like when he was talking about
super into that right
somebody now. Had a question and they asked if your father was ever regressed.
My father and I don't really have like much of a relationship anymore, but he never would be the type that would do that. The only thing, he was very, very, very military, you know, like he would never, if there was something he wasn't supposed to tell, he wouldn't say it. So I don't think he would ever go and have a regression done because he just wouldn't do it. Wow. But the one thing he did say to me when we were in Ohio, he was stationed at Wright Pat, which obviously there's a lot that, you know, goes along with Wright Pat. And this was very out of character for him. So I remember it. I was in high school and he was just like, and we were just like standing in the kitchen talking. He was like, hey, I got a question for you. Do you think aliens exist? And I was just kind of like, it's really weird. But this was before I had gotten into any of this stuff, you know? So I was kind of like, okay, this is a weird question, but maybe he's just in a very philosophical mood, you know? So I was just like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, the universe is so big. How could like we be the only like beings in this universe? Like, I just like that makes no sense to me. So of course I think aliens exist. And he was just kind of like, that was his response. And that was it. The conversation was over.
Head. Wow.
Yeah, he was just kind of
What
like,
the hell?
So I had this like smile on his face. And so my dad, what he did gets even stranger. So my dad was, I don't think he was in charge of Material Command. I think he was like the deputy commander of Material Command at Wright Pat, which basically means, so my dad was a civil engineer. So it basically means he was kind of second in command to the running of the base, making sure that everything did what it was supposed to do. So the police were under him, you know, like all of the building maintenance, the construction, anything that had to do with the base infrastructure was under him. Like that was what he was in charge of. So he had to have known pretty much everything about the base.
It's a very important person to have on a spaceship.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's weird. It gets weird. And then, okay, one more really, really weird thing.
Wow.
So then I think I was like in my mid 20s. I was thinking, and I was just kind of like, what was that school that I went to? Like, I was like, just thinking to myself, I had this memory of like when it was on an Air Force base, but I was young, and it was like, I remember this like white van coming to pick me up and take me to the school. And it was just like a generic, if you've ever been on an Air Force base, a lot of it's like very like, single level, like red brick buildings, very nondescript. And that's what the school looked like. But I remember like it was a white van like that came to pick us up instead of a school bus. And I was like, what was that? That's so weird. Cause I just had this like memory of it. And so I was talking to my stepmom on the phone, and I was like, hey, what was that school that I went to on the military base, when I was younger? What was that? I can't remember which one that was. And she was like, you never went to school on a military base. I was like, no, I remember. Don't you remember? Like the white van would come and pick us up and like take me to the school. And she was just like, no, you never went to school on a military base. And so I was just kind of like, what the fuck?
What?
Man, you're like triggering so much stuff within my. I'm not gonna go.
I just thought you were a drunk witch. Jesus,
like
it's amazing.
Now you see why I have trouble like coming to terms with all of this. I'm just like, you connect the dots, and then so the reason I don't talk to my dad, not to get into like a lot of family dynamics, but my stepmom is a horrible human being, and she was very crazy. So when I was like a teenager, she would record all my phone calls. Like I found out later, my older brother found that she had this like device, and this is back in the like early 90s, right? So it was like a landline, and she had this device that like, it was like a recorder, basically, that the moment you picked up the phone, it started recording. My older brother found it. So we, of course, the moment we were going to go make a phone call, we turned it off. And then like, so
that's so creepy.
Yes.
Right. And then she would follow me around sometimes, or she would quiz me to see if I actually was where I said I was, and I was like, I went to this movie, and she was like, okay, well, tell me about what happened when this, thing happened.
She grew up in a house with no pets. I'm willing to bet.
No, I had to. Oh, I don't know. She was the funny thing is her parents are super, super nice. So she was crazy. And this is what's really weird. So while we were in Saudi Arabia, she did like, I think she was doing schooling, and she did get like her like MBA there or something like that. But before that, she always worked as like an executive assistant. And then when we moved to Ohio, somehow she became a project manager at, I think it was Boeing, which I always thought was really weird that she went from an executive assistant to a project manager at like Boeing.
Yeah,
and
like a little higher up.
Right. I was like, that's quite the leap. Like, I know she got her master's degree, but you go straight into a project management position. That's a little weird. And so I was telling my friend all about this, and that's what kind of caused the wedge too between my dad and I, because I finally was just like, I cannot deal with her anymore, And so my dad was like, well, sorry, like this is what it is. And so I was talking to my friend about this, the one that like we had described the ship and everything. And she was just like, well, if you think about it, there are a lot of kids, like military kids, who have had these kind of really weird, like either MyLab or whatever experiences.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have handlers.
Yeah.
And the way you're describing her, maybe that's what that was.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was
crazy.
thinking.
I know. It's so crazy. So this is why I don't talk about it too often, because it's like bizarre. It's so crazy.
But
it all like goes together. Like if you look at each individual piece, it's like, okay, not so much. But then when you look at the big picture, it's like, what the?
Yeah. And you're not the only one.
I just blew my mind.
I mean,
I just blew my mind.
Dude, I don't like.
I'm broke.
I'm speechless for the first time in my life.
I'm broke.
Yes.
So hold on. I'm putting the pieces together in my head. Your dad, right?
Yeah.
Top dude. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing him. He's a handsome guy. Okay.
He's a handsome devil. Yeah, sure. Of course. He's my dad. So obviously.
Wow. So he's working.
You get your looks from your dad.
Right. Yes. Actually, I do look a lot more like my dad than my mom. Just kind of funny.
So he's working in this capacity. What if like back in the day, maybe there was a certain point in your childhood that he got this job and he was like, you know what, it's higher pay, whatever, let's do it. And then it opens up into this whole world that like he had no idea. And now he's if he says anything about it, blah, blah, blah. And that forces it. I'm just like going down this rabbit hole.
And
Like
he probably also had to bring you with him, like maybe to like keep you safe in a way.
Or
And
he knew that they were testing out the military kids, because that's one of the theories, is like they test out military kids to see what their abilities are. And I, like I've said before, I've always had like spirits around me. So I've always kind of had that like auditory connection and like like communication. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
Maybe so we talk about this a lot, that these, I do feel like there is a bloodline. I think we all kind of understand that there are certain people that have these abilities that can maybe call it an intuitive nature, or can kind of feel energies.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bloodline no one's talking about. Like everybody wants to talk about like the elites and stuff, but like,
right. Yeah.
what if the reality is that the elites, it's backwards. It's like this, hidden in plain sight kind of thing. Like the most important humans on the planet are these people that have a little bit extra. So like maybe there's a reason why your dad was chosen for that job, is because this runs in your family, and they're like, hey, cool, we got a blood test, you're good, let's go bring the family. Okay. So the wife's not cool with it. Okay, let's replace. I don't mean to be like
no,
insensitive about that. But, but like that, the handler thing, and like, oh man,
it's crazy. Okay, so I can blow your mind even more. You just made me think of something, and I never made this connection. So you're talking about family lines.
Damn it, we're gonna
be.
Dave just joined us. What's up, Dave from Spaced Out Radio?
Oh, Dave! Yay! Hi, Dave. So you talk about like bloodlines, and I never made this connection until you just said this. But our family does have. We did have a lot of like played a big role in the development of America. Like I'm related to George Ross, who signed the Declaration of Independence, who's also related to Betsy Ross, who obviously we know, like
Rick Ross.
Rick Ross? Who's Rick Ross?
Boss Hog? Yeah.
So
he owns
like
a bunch of wing stops.
It does.
I fucked around and bought a wing stop. Rick Ross.
So also like that's amazing. So you're related to people that signed the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, the one.
You better be
George
careful.
Ross.
Nicolas Cage is going to show up at your house tonight.
I love Nicolas Cage. Please come. Crazy guy. I love him.
Dude,
Lynn, this is blowing my mind.
Yeah, like it keeps getting
Holy
deeper
crap.
and deeper.
I know.
Because like, oh man, I love this. I'm so glad you joined us tonight.
I know. Like you're getting the scoop. I haven't ever like told all of this to anyone. Like any show. I haven't really touched on it.
I mean, yeah, I feel like we're just scratching the itty bitty surface. It's like,
I know you're helping me make connections too that I didn't even think of.
There we go.
Interesting.
We're just, yeah. So, I mean, was there anything involving that bloodline did that hit on anything else other than like the obviously significant relatives? Like,
yeah.
Like, did you encounter any language with that, with your regressions, or was that ever like a visual given to you? Because I just find that so interesting.
It wasn't. No. Like there wasn't really the only connection that I made with that, plus the memory, which wasn't part of the regression. It was just an actual memory of going to the school on the base with the white van. Yeah. Was like, it was all military. That was the whole connection that was the only connection that I had made, was that it must have something to do with like my dad being in the military. And like, I come from a very strong military family. Like my dad was a colonel. Yeah. I had 2 brothers in special forces. My grandfather was in the Navy. My uncle was in the Navy. My mom was in the Air Force. Like, like it just keeps going back. It was just like a very military family. Right. So that was the only connection that I really had thought about. But I mean, maybe.
I'm thinking of so many ideas right now. I'm
now I totally want this regression, because like my family is all military family too, all military. And my grandfather and my dad both had like this crazy experience. Like,
really?
Yeah. And for some reason, for whatever reason, I'm into aliens now. Like, it's just so like the sequence of events is so crazy. Like, I gotta have this regression.
I know. It's like once you like, it's tough. Like I'll warn you too, because like once you have it, like now I'm like, I want to know more, you know, but I can't remember anything else.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like I did have a second regression done, but then like you always question if with the second one, you know, is it influenced by the first one? So it's like always hard to trust any information that comes from the second one. Like I was actually just to name drop. I was talking to Ben Hansen about this like a couple years back because I was telling him about this. I was like, Ben, I'm like what the hell, you know? And so I was telling, he was like, okay, well, tell me what happened in the first one. And so I told him, and then I told him like, you know, and then I had a second one, but I don't know. That one was a little more weird. And he was the one that was like telling me, he was like, well, you know, remember, like you can't really trust the second one. The first one is really the one that like has the most impact, that has the most truth to it because it hasn't been influenced by anything else.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Interesting.
Ooh, this is fun. So, I mean, so like my mom's side of the family, all like not military, but police officer, highway patrolman. I mean, it goes back, and it basically my mom's side is all like, officials, and then my dad's side is more businessman, like, and then farmer if you go even further. So I don't know. My mom's side of the family, it's that profession, but also like her mother is kind of like, she's got some weirdness to her. Like people would come to her to like remove warts and stuff, and like she would like pull in her hand like warts and like make them go away.
Really? Wow.
My mom's mom, dude, like I don't know what it is, but she's got some energy to her. So
my grandmother, she would rub Vicks on me and make me feel good. And then she would put an egg on me.
Would she crack?
I don't know what that is.
Egg on you? Was it cracked or just whole?
Oh no! So there was this thing. It was called ojo that you would get, and it was like the devil's eye or whatever.
Right?
And it was, dude, that was so crazy because I would like get sick, and my grandmother would come in, and she'd
come in with the egg and like
come in with the egg, go over me, and then
remove the negative energy.
It was nuts because she would crack the egg and put it in this little cup and put it under my bed and like put this little cross on top of it. And then you would wake up and the egg would be like goddamn boiled with like a red dot in the middle. Yeah. And it's like all the yolk would like suck down like the little cross that they put on it. I was like, what is happening?
So I think we're I think we're like getting to this precipice. I just want to like, it's all like leading up to this like one idea, right? Like we talked about the beginning of our conversation is that like the paranormal and the ET, it seems to be one kind of connected paranormal thing that we just, I mean, let's just say it. We just something we can't explain. Like we try to talk about the word experiencer. Like what is an experiencer? To you guys? I mean, like to me, it's just anybody who's seen or experienced something that they can't explain, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think the more that we get involved with, our government, the U.S. government coming out with this information on, it sounded like disinformation, but it might be disinformation. Anyway, but
might not be wrong.
Might not be wrong. On the 25th, hopefully, fingers crossed. But it's like, man, we've been trying for so long, like 70 years to get just this thing that we already know is a thing. Like, why is it taking so long?
It's like we just need somebody else to say it.
Yeah, yes. You don't have validation.
Will you just say it, please?
And it's still, I feel like for the majority of people that are into this kind of stuff, it's going to be barely tickle that little eggshell.
I don't think it's going to beat anything.
Yeah. So
I'm like Debbie Downer when it comes to that. I'm just like, it's not going to be anything.
So I think we will feel that way, but I think the mass public is going to feel like, well,
a shift of consciousness.
I guess you ain't crazy after all.
Yeah, that is true. They definitely do take the subject a lot more seriously. And if anything, like if it gets the general public more interested in it and like learning more about it, that's a good thing.
And if aliens isn't the answer and that's what it is, imagine what it actually is that they're not telling us. Like, what is it that we don't know? And we're not actually, like when they say you're not ready. Okay, well, cool. Well, they're basically saying aliens exist. So if that's not the thing we're not ready for, then what are we not ready for?
Yeah.
What else is there?
I know. Well, I like how they say or like the pre-report that's kind of come out that was reported by, I think it was the New York Times or something. Well, they're like, it's not extraterrestrial, but it's also not US. So I'm kind of like, how can they rule that out then? What do they know that they're not telling us? If it's not extraterrestrial, like that's a very definitive statement. How can they make that statement if they don't know exactly what it is?
Yeah,
that's a good point.
It's interdimensional.
Or I think Joe and I have a pretty good idea of what it might be.
Tell me.
I don't think people are ready for this.
I'm ready.
We have some information. Are we about to, can we drop this?
I think we can, dude. Go for it.
Please.
I think we can.
After everything I just told you, come on.
Sea monkeys.
Yes.
It might be sea monkeys. Okay. We don't give them enough credit.
Right?
We don't give them enough credit. I might have built that up way too much. I'm sorry.
No,
I realized.
Sea monkeys.
Everybody's all disappointed.
Everybody's like, oh, I hate these guys.
Hey, they have their own little kingdom. Like
no.
It's a
hierarchy
little like sandcastle like kingdom.
Yeah.
So why can't they have craft?
You get it.
Yeah,
get
I do.
it. Yeah.
I'm right there with you guys.
Maybe there's some truth to it. Maybe, I mean, it started out as a joke. We've been joking about the sea monkey thing for a while, but
2 years.
2 years straight. Literally, like go back and listen.
Things.
But like,
that's amazing.
We've been talking about this for 2 years, but like the most ridiculous thing we can come up with is also might make the most sense. I mean, we're talking about what is our relationship to sea monkeys? It's like, it's just a fun thing.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing. People made money off of it. And like some people were observing them and then they cultivated them and made a lot of them. And now what do we do with all these little brine shrimp, right?
Right.
Could be that.
Maybe they did genetic mutations and then the sea monkeys became a lot more intelligent than they ever thought.
Dude. I don't know, man.
Lynn's on the sea monkey train and I love it.
Yeah, seriously.
I love
it.
But you know what? Also, like they said definitively that it's not extraterrestrials, right? But they didn't say anything about ultra terrestrials or interdimensionals, because the government, you got to look at like the specific words that they use. I've noticed, you have to they say things very definitively and specifically. And so then you got to read between the lines a little bit. So
yeah.
Okay, can I make one more sea monkey reference?
Yes, please.
I'm absolutely serious. The analogy to the sea monkeys, right? Like to them, a terrestrial will be anything inside the fishbowl.
Yes.
So an ultra terrestrial would be anything outside of that fishbowl. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Think about it. I don't know.
We would be the ultra terrestrials.
We would be the ultra. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. Dude.
Does that make them like little inner earth beings?
Yeah. Oh my god, I have like 10 different tangents I want to go off on, but
you stop it.
Yeah, I'll yeah. Lynn, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
This has been incredible, man.
Aw, thanks, guys.
It's been totally awesome.
It's always fun hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, sorry it was such short notice. I know we've been talking and us getting back from Sedona, and then we were just exhausted.
Busy boys.
So yeah,
it's been nuts, dude. We're excited to come hang out with y'all on y'all show though.
Whenever
we can get that rescheduled and get it going. I mean, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
I'm so
sleepover.
Dude, sleep up. We're gonna be on our jammies.
There you go. Yeah.
Dude, we should get jammies, bro.
Onesies, dude. Yes. Oh my god. Yeah.
I love it.
That's happening. We
can all we can all be wearing jammies. It'll be the jammy episode.
Let's all wear onesies,
dude. Yes. Pajama party. We'll think of it. I don't know.
Party.
we'll think of pajama paranormal spirits.
Yes.
Or paranormal spirits pajamas. I don't know. We'll come up with something. We'll figure it out.
Paranormal pajama spirits.
Paranormal pajama spirits.
Love that.
Let's just keep rearranging the words until it sounds
right.
A
little bit something.
Yeah.
When we've been drinking, it'll sound great.
Yeah, totally.
We're geniuses.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Again, thank you, Lynn, for coming on, dude.
Thanks,
this has been absolutely awesome. You'll definitely be back on again. We got so much more to talk about,
Absolutely. Anytime.
Usually when we start wearing out, sea monkeys come out, and that's how we know that the end of the show is coming up, because Then we have like 20 minutes of sea monkey talk. And the more you listen, the more you'll catch on to that. So
That's awesome. The sea monkey transition. I love it.
So Lynn, tell us about your new show with SOR and your paranormal spirits YouTube channel. Tell everybody that's still here hanging out.
Okay, yeah. So you can find us on It's difficult to find us sometimes unless you do like a channel filter, on the search, because it has the word paranormal, so everything paranormal comes up. So if you search paranormal spirits and do like a channel filter, it'll come up right away. It looks like a little ghosty coming out of a wine glass. And so yeah, Caitlin and I, it's kind of like boozy paranormal stories. We're drinking and antics. I don't know how else to describe it. It's
so
ridiculous.
Funny.
It's ridiculousness. And then on every Saturday, I'm on Spaced Out Radio. I do Spaced Out Saturdays, and we talk about all kinds of things, from witchy things to paranormal to UFO. It's all up for grabs. So it's fun time.
Heck yeah.
Love it.
Love it.
Awesome.
Thank you again, Lynn. You're badass. Let's do this again.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see you for
absolutely.
the pajama party. Just let us know.
Yeah.
When we can get together, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Heck
Sounds
yeah.
good. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. It was a blast.
Yes, it was.
Heck yeah.
All right, Lynn, we'll talk to you later.
All right. Sounds good.
right,
Bye.
peace.
Bye, guys.
That was great.
Heck yeah.
Dude, that was freaking awesome.
I love Lynn. She's great. She was so much fun.
I like her too.
Man.
I like her too.
So we knew Lynn from being on SOR, Spaced Out Radio. Check it out with Dave Scott. And, I think the first time we talked to her was on that round table, and it's awesome to get to know her personal experience. I haven't really heard that yet. And yeah, dude. And honestly, you guys, their show is really funny. So y'all need to check that out.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, man. Well, hey, everybody, don't forget to go and check out UFO Garage Podcast.
Oh, are you trying to
I'm pointing at the sticker.
Oh,
right there. If you're watching, you can see it.
That's as close as it'll get. You got to move your hand out because it won't focus. There we go. Dude, we're branding geniuses.
UFO Garage Podcast.
We're so good at it's wall art. Yeah, we're so good at self promotion, dude.
There you go. Oh, I love it, dude.
Oh, man.
I love it, man.
Oh, it was another successful Thirsty Thursday. And we did not spell it wrong. That's how it's spelled.
Yeah,
So.
that's how you spell Thursday.
Thirsty Thursday. Dude, we have so much to catch up on with all of our listeners with the documentary. Man, we just got back from Sedona. I mean, really quick before we hop off, guys. So, I mean, if you've been a listener for a while, for the past year or so, we've been working on a documentary, and dude, I am so excited.
It's pretty good. Like, I don't want to toot my
I
own
know,
horn,
I don't
but
honk.
honk.
All right. Yeah. So the trailer is going to come out soon. We got to figure out some logistics, and then we're going to just blast it. So, guys, if you like our show, if you want to show us support, buy a t-shirt on UFOGaragePodcast.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. I think
they're not really $40, by the way.
They're not. Yeah,
they're $39.99,
and they are actually made out of alien silk, straight from an alien's butt.
I don't know if you guys knew this, but that's how aliens make silk. It's from their butt.
Yeah. So,
it's called butt silk.
Butt silk. Yeah, thanks for everybody that's here that didn't know us a week ago. Thank you for sticking around. Thanks for not unsubscribing. And if you're here and you're not subscribed, hey, why don't you click the button?
Go for it.
Button.
It's like right.
It's right.
It's right
It's right there.
here.
Click the button. That'd be cool. Because the more subscribers we get, the more we get to talk to more people and share knowledge and get feedback. We're always looking to improve the show, and also it's just fun to have people in the chat and all the shenanigans that happens. So yeah,
dude, it's been a great time. We love you guys, man.
Hey,
we love you, man.
Hey, don't be worried about it. We love you.
We love you.
Accept our love.
You love me back.
Love me. We love you. Accept our love. And thank you for hanging out with us, spending your night with us. I mean, come on. Like, time is the most valuable thing you have. And the fact that you spent it with us tonight means a lot. So thank you. Wow, that was really sentimental.
It was, dude.
Yeah.
I was very. I felt it.
I did too.
I felt
I
it.
don't know how I feel about
It
it.
might be this beer and the wine.
That's the wine. I don't know. All right, guys. Well, let's hop off. Check out Native Texan and
We're not
check
sponsored by
Spirit
them.
Co.
It's just what I'm drinking
We're
tonight.
not- yeah. And
Also, box wine.
they redid their packaging, which is fucking. I think I like it. I don't know.
Like it.
It's
Dude?
very much. It's a more suburban lifestyle. It's more,
yes.
It's more.
The soccer moms are drawn to it. They're actually drawn to the bright reds.
Right.
On the white creamish backdrop.
I also have this pattern in a short dress that I usually wear in the summer months, but since it's been so rainy and muggy, I can't bring myself to wear it. So I went ahead and bought this box of wine, and it does remind me of good times. So
It does.
so
Hell yeah.
so and it's low calories and carbs.
Well, dude,
All right.
you know,
that's one.
you know, it's one of those things where you just gonna. This has been another episode of UFO Garage. We'll talk to y'all next time. All right, come back now. You hear?
Hey, y'all.
Peace.
Goodbye.